Hello, everybody, and welcome to a Slice of Gaming podcast for November 2nd, 2024. I am your host, The Uncharted Wolf, and I am joined for a duo cast with the one and only Fusion. How you doing, Fusion?
I'm doing good. Happy to be back. It's been a few weeks since my last podcast, and now we're duo casting, so it's like it just feels special all around.
Oh, yeah, no, I always get you on for the special episodes. We actually got a decent amount of PlayStation news, so some stuff I really want to hear your thoughts on, especially because some of this stuff I have no idea what I'm talking about, and I need someone who has some idea.
I'll give what I can.
Fusion, I mean, let me ask you, you do anything for Halloween?
Um, yeah, I went over to my mom and dad's. Like they live in a neighborhood, so I went over there and like I walked
Nice.
around with my nephews, like as
That's
they
cool.
trick or treated.
Oh, dude, I haven't done. When was the last time you like went trick or treating, like as a, I guess a
Like
kid,
yeah.
like for yourself?
It's been a while because I don't know when you stopped, but I think the last time I ever went was seventh grade. So I mean, it was over a decade ago, probably 2012, 2013, maybe.
Yeah, I think because like, what would that be, like 13, 14? Because I think I stopped around the same age.
I think it was probably 12, 13.
Yeah, because I think by like 14. No, I think I may have gone in. No, 14. Yeah, 14 was the last year. Because I think even by then I was like, I'm getting too old for this. I felt weird
Yeah, some
doing it.
people, some people trick or treat like till they're like 16. I'm like, how?
Oh, dude, my fucking sisters were glad that I was around because they got to go trick or treating with me, and they actually wanted the candy. But no, I guess like to get it back into gaming, like, is there like, do you have any gaming memories Halloween wise, like kind of like fun stories? Like, do you consider gaming to be a part of your Halloween October activities?
No, and I wish it was. I think I've said it on the podcast before. Like, I was looking for a game where it's like every Halloween I play. And I know I joke like The Last of Us Part One, like the first one, gets short enough, and I really
Hmm.
like it. And I'm like, it has like some fall Halloween vibes. Obviously, it's a zombie game, so like you have that going for it. But I've never been that person that like Halloween comes around and I have to play a horror game. This year I did play Silent Hill 2, which was nice, but like it's not a thing every year where I'm like, oh, I need to play a Halloween game around Halloween.
Yeah, it's weird. I think it's one of those things. When you're kind of a mood gamer, because I think you're the same as me, where you just play whatever you're in the mood for. So scheduling out what you're playing for is kind of tougher. So like setting aside something for Halloween, I just play horror games whenever.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not like I don't look at my calendar 3 weeks from now and be like, this is when I'm gonna play this. Like whatever I'm just in the mood for in the moment, that's what I'm playing.
Do you have I guess like a oh, I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh, when you're playing horror games, do you do the lights off, play it at night type deal, or is it like whenever time of the day, whenever you're free?
I mean, I try to make it like I'm gonna play it at night, but it's also like whenever I get the free time, I'm gonna play. Like I'm still playing with
Hmm.
headphones, but like more often than not, I'm just playing during the day because that's the time that's when I'm free to play it. Because if I wait till night, then it would take like a month for me to beat a 10-hour horror game. So like I have to play when I can play, but I still try to make it in a scenario where it's like I'm gonna be as scared as I can.
It's funny you say it takes a month to beat a like 10-hour horror game. That was me with Silent Hill 2. It took me a month.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're not wrong there. To move on from Halloween, PS5 Pro's next week. Like before we get into the news, I just want to like kind of get your gauge into the PS5 Pro. You think like kind of the opinion has swayed on it? Like a lot of the reaction at the start has it slowed down, and now it's like okay, the people who are excited for it are going to grab it. And obviously, with all the Digital Foundry stuff, we got so many more details and ideas of how games are going to run. What's your like current hype level for this thing?
Personally, almost no hype. Like it's the first time. I mean, I got the PS4 Pro when it came out, but that was also what $500 at the time, or was it $400?
400.
Yeah, I was just saying $400 at the time. So like that was an easy upgrade for me. This time around, as I transition more into like using my PC way more often, I'm like, I don't need this console. So like personally, there's no hype for me. I'm excited to see more videos next week of like people actually getting hands on, like people outside of the media, so I can actually see
Yeah.
like what the raw like improvements are. But yeah, for me, like I'm like zero hype. I'm just cool. It's just they're doing that funny thing where they're like having an unboxing date and a review embargo date, which is
It's
so dumb
weird.
because like who sits there and watches like the unboxing and they're like, yeah, this is cool.
Yeah, dude, I remember like 2010s YouTube where unboxings were like the biggest thing ever.
I
It's like
do, yeah.
unboxing the iPhone 6 and it's just an iPhone. It's like, what do I get out of this? I don't understand.
I will say, back at like when the Xbox One and PS4 came out, I watched so many unboxing
Oh,
videos because
dude,
I just thought
same.
it was so cool. I was like, I need to see these things get unboxed.
I mean, that was like the first time like a brand new game, well, other than the Wii U, but we know how that worked out. But like a brand new video game console was coming out, and I was like watching, like, because I was a kid, I
Yeah.
wasn't able to buy it at launch, so I was just like, what? There's a PlayStation after 3? Like that was the craziest shit to me.
Yeah, that was the first generation where like I could actually be old enough to get excited and want it. Like when I'm younger than that, it's like I had the original Xbox and the PS2 and like the 360
Hmm.
and stuff, obviously, but those were just like random Christmas gifts. Like I didn't want them at the time. I just happened to get them and like play on them. But like the Xbox One, PS4 was like I want to go out of my way to get these systems. So like that hype launch cycle was very special to me because it was like the first time where like for months at a time I would just look up YouTube videos about like the Xbox One or the PS4 and just like over and over
Yep.
again.
Yeah, no, very excited. And then PS5, obviously,
Yeah.
that was like way more. I have disposable income, and I wasn't able to get it at launch because they didn't fucking make enough, and I'm still pissed about that.
Yeah,
Dude,
I got it. That's all that matters.
did I ever tell you? I don't know if I ever told you. I know this is off topic, but I bought games for the PS5 before I even got it.
Yeah, yeah, I remember you saying that. Wasn't it like Miles Morales and Demon Souls or something?
Yeah, I had Miles Morales and Demon Souls just sitting on my shelf taunting me for 3 months. I was like, God damn it, dude.
Mine, because I got it day one and it delivered through PlayStation Direct, and
Uh-huh.
Miles Morales didn't come in the big box, which bummed me out, but Demon Souls did. Miles Morales came the next day. So that actually got me into Astros for the first time doing the playroom because I didn't have Miles Morales day one. So I loaded up Astro, played through that, and now I'm obsessed with Astro. But it was just like I remember being so sad. I'm like, how did everything come but Miles Morales? Like it somehow got delayed one day. I'm like, that doesn't make sense.
It's weird. Sony is weird. Speaking of weird Sony moments, we're going to talk a lot about those today's podcast. Again, if you want to find us, check us out: YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Slice of Gaming. Like the podcast, any type of support helps. And also, we're on Twitter at a Slice of Gaming. I think we're about ready to get into it. First and foremost, like I said, Sony making weird and kind of insane decisions. Sony shuts down 2 studios, not just one. Sony has closed Neon Koi and Firewalk Studios. Wario 64 has this. Concord had permanently shut down. And this is the full internal email from Herman Holst. Dear team, today I want to share some important updates from Sony Interactive Entertainment Studio Business Group. We consistently evaluate our games portfolio. A lot of business speak. The main parts of this is while mobile remains a priority growth area for studio businesses, we are in a very early stage of our mobile efforts. To achieve success in this area, we need to concentrate on titles that are in line with PlayStation Studios' pedigree and have the potential to reach more players globally. With this approach, Neon Koi will close and its mobile action game will not be moving forward. Regarding Firewalk, as announced in early September, certain aspects of Concord were exceptional, but others did not land with enough players, and as a result, we took the game offline. After much thought, we have determined the best path forward is to permanently sunset the game and close the studio. I want to thank all of Firewalk for their partnership, for their craftsmanship, creative spirit, and dedication. The PvP first-person shooter genre is a competitive space that's continuously evolving, and unfortunately, we did not hit our targets with this title. We will take the lessons learned from Concord and continue to advance our live service capabilities to deliver future growth in this area. Now, Fusion, I know you were outspoken defender of Concord. I will say, let me add just one more thing on this. Jason Schreier, Sony's closure of 2 studios, Concord developer Firewalk and mobile gamer maker Neon Koi, will result in 210 people losing their jobs, a spokesperson told Bloomberg News. Firewalk had 172 employees, while Neon Koi had 38. And I just wanted to add that extra tidbit to show the amount of people that are losing their jobs. I want to get to Neon Koi, but first and foremost is Concord. Fusion, you were excited for Concord. Didn't work out well. I want to know, like, kind of your immediate thoughts on the situation. Like, how are you feeling? I know you were very pissed off the other day when you heard this news, so take it away.
Yeah, for one, I should have bought Concord. I never did, so I'm a fraud there. I didn't support the game.
Yeah, dude, same, man. I saw how expensive those physical copies got, and I'm like, damn. But yeah, continue.
But yeah, this was a thing. Like you said, when the news dropped, I went in the Discord immediately, and I immediately just said this. It just pissed me off because I understand it was a big blunder. I mean, like they said, like $200 million blunder, where like they lost a lot of money, and I obviously understand as a business, but this was this studio's first game they ever got to work on. Like they all came together. The studio not that old, a few years old. They finally are able to put out this game that, for one, I'm sure some of them and a good amount of them wanted to make Concord, but I'm sure a lot of like people at the PlayStation top, like the execs, were like, "We want you to work on this live service shooter game that's going to bring in a bunch of money and compete with Call of Duty and Fortnite and everything else." And I'm sure everyone at Concord at some point was like working on that game, and they're like, "This just isn't gonna hit." Like at some point, they're probably like, "This game isn't gonna go out there and sell millions of copies, and we're not going to bring our money back in." And they still went out there and had to put it out. I wish there was a world where maybe Concord, like they pushed back like halfway through development and they transitioned to something else. But my main thing is like, it makes me so sad and mad that in the current industry we are today, that if you bring up one miss, like this was yes, it was a big miss, but it's their first game. They don't even get to learn from it. There is no like second chance. It's like, no, you're out of a job. You're now on the streets. You're not bringing in money to pay for the dinners for your family. You're just completely done after one miss where, like I said, PlayStation pushed this out so hard and they did nothing to like help it. They didn't make it free to play, even after the feedback of people seeing it being $40 or $50, and they were like, we saw a lot of fans saying, "We're not buying this, let's make it free." PlayStation had plenty of months to be like, "Okay, we're gonna backtrack and we're gonna make this free now." They did it with, what was the launch game?
Destruction
for the
All
PS5?
Stars.
Yeah, Destruction All Stars. And granted, that wasn't a $200 million budget game, but it was still a principle, and it still sold pretty badly. But
And
it's
it was
still
on
a principle.
PS Plus
Yeah.
specifically, which
Where
it
it's
wasn't
like-
even on Plus.
Yeah, exactly. Concord is like a perfect example of like, at least they went day and date with PC. That was the right move. It didn't matter because it had 300 players, but at least it was a move in the right direction. Where like Concord, to me, live service at PlayStation should always be day and date on PC and day and date on PlayStation Plus. If your game's going to cost money, if it's free, whatever, you don't need it in the PlayStation Plus, obviously, because it's free. But at the very least, even if it's $40, you should put it in that Plus service so you're at least getting players to talk good about your game. Because if it's $40 and no way to get it through like a service, now you're only getting feedback from the people who are paying $40. And in today's landscape, most people aren't paying $40 for a multiplayer shooter, especially one that's brand new and has no lineage. Like it came out of nowhere. Like it's not like people have like an obsession with the Concord characters yet. It just appeared and PlayStation's like, pay $40 when every other competitor is free. It just, from the beginning, I never wanted to admit it was gonna fail because I hate when we see something and like I pushed back on this very podcast about like saying there were multiple people on the podcast, bench other people who were like, this thing is going to fail, and I always push back because I'm like, I hate thinking of a brand new video games are gonna fail 6 months before it even comes out. But PlayStation did Concord no favors, and that's the sad part is they're never going to get another chance. These people are now fired, talented people. Like we know, Concord itself was not a bad video game. It had some good stuff. It just couldn't hit in the current live service span of what today is. Like I wish that studio was out there working on a single player game where they at least got a second chance. I don't understand. Yeah, you lost a lot of money. What's the benefit of now just closing the studio down? You're telling me these talented people can't go work on something that will now bring you in money? Instead, you're just like, nah, we'll kick you out.
Yeah, and I always push back against one thing that a lot of people always try to bring up is like, oh, it's not a crowded space. Like, there's what other hero shooters are there? It's like Valorant, Overwatch. Both games made by gigantic companies, like massive developers who have a proven track record, which have thousands of concurrents, tens of thousands of concurrent players every day. And big one here, are free. And Concord wasn't any of those things. It's just, you can't, in this market, if there's one competitor who's that big, it is really hard to push yourself in because a lot of people just like to play one game and one game only.
Exactly. And you had Marvel Rivals, what, a month from now? Like Marvel, like we knew about Marvel Rivals coming out, and it's like that is the exact same hero shooter thing, which now is backed by a Marvel IP that everyone knows and loves, and was getting good feedback. And that game's also, like you said, free. Like that game's free. So like Concord, PlayStation, it was one of the things where PlayStation felt like they were the prestige. You can like the Apple of consoles, where they're just like, we can do anything we want with this game and it's gonna work, and it backfired.
100%. It feels like they were like, because one of the weirdest aspects of Concord was that they were really trying to push this. Oh, it's like the cutscenes, these weekly vignettes every week. And I'm sorry, most people just don't care about that in a multiplayer game. I know you were into it, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, I was.
Which, yeah, but like, I'm not trying to be mean, by the way. I don't think like you're most players when it comes to like what you want from a multiplayer game and you liking that idea of the weekly vignettes. I think most multiplayer gamers aren't into that. Correct me if I'm wrong, please.
No, you're 100% right. I know I'm like the 2% of players who are like, this is cool. I like having the lore and stuff. But that's more of my MMO like Destiny side coming out, where I'm like, this is really like this is awesome compared to like the Call of Duty. Every season, Call of Duty does something similar, and I always skip them because I don't care. You know what I mean? So it's like I understand, and that's 90% of players. Like no one cares about these vignettes that they're putting out. But like for me, I thought it was gonna build up a world and lore, and have Concord go the extra mile and like because we know PlayStation said themselves they wanted Concord to be like a franchise. Like they were building up to like it being a
Their
big
Star
thing.
Wars.
Exactly. And I thought the world was cool. So like these extra vignettes every week was like a cool way to look into the characters and learn some new stuff. But for the most people who are there for like a multiplayer shooter, they're skipping right past that and want to get into the meat and potatoes, which is your gameplay.
100%. Before we get into Neon Koi, because I have some things to say there as well, I do want to bring up this article from Ethan Gotch at Kotaku about the kind of price regarding Concord. This is extra details regarding it. The initial development deal for the game was just over $200 million, according to two sources familiar with the agreement, but who are not authorized to speak publicly about it. But Kotaku understands that amount was not enough to cover the game's entire development and did not include the purchase of Concord IP rights or Firewalk Studios itself, which Sony acquired only last year. And this is also very much kind of goes in line with what Colin Moriarty reported on Sacred Symbols last month, basically, and about how his was about 400 million. And you people are like, oh, 200 million, 400 million, those are two major numbers. It's like, okay, but it doesn't include the entire development cost of the game. Most likely the development cost that came from before they were acquired by Sony. Because what Colin was kind of reporting on, watching the clip, was effectively it was 200 million that probably Monsters, the previous owners of Firewalk, they poured into Concord initially, and then when Sony bought them, they effectively doubled that, and including like IP rights and whatnot. Very much adds to that development cost. So, I mean, that just goes to show it's like, Fusion, does anything about Concord look like a $400 million game, or are game budgets just getting fucking ridiculous now?
I do think like the mocap is really good for Concord. I would say that. So like
sure.
That's definitely where most of the money went. But no, like I even said it. Granted, I have pushed back on people when they bring up Spider-Man, a lot Spider-Man 2, where like Spider-Man 2 was a $300 million game. And like part of the reasons I understand why, but then there's also part of me where I'm like, this game still doesn't look $300 million.
100%.
I think game budgets are, like you said, they're just getting outlandishly ridiculous. And like you can't we've been saying for probably since the podcast started over a year ago, like 60 months ago, we've been saying like they have to like bring it back to normal, and it's just like we haven't seen it back to normal yet. It just keeps wanting to get bigger and bigger, and like a new dev will come out and they'll be like, we're building the biggest budget game of all time, and it's like, why? We don't want that. We don't care. You're not going to survive, and then you're dead the next week.
It's just like, as you said, like we've been saying this since the podcast started, these ships take a long time to steer, and it's like, yeah, we want to say return to normal. At this point, maybe this is the new normal, and like we have to wait until there's another new normal where, hey, development costs are lower because AI tech, or like subsidizing certain aspects, maybe lower pay, which just that sucks, and like smaller teams and whatnot. Which I think Sean Layden was talking about this, or someone was talking about, like game development really needs to push towards having smaller teams to be able to actually get these games out. I think it was Jason Schreier actually. He had a article on Bloomberg about it, and yeah, I fully agree. It's like you start to see like kind of some of the biggest successes. Astrobot, perfect example. That game probably sold at this point 2 million, maybe at 3 million if we're lucky. Is that kind of the estimate you would say, Fusion?
Yeah, it's somewhere around there, I would think.
Yeah, and that's a team of 60 people who worked on it for about 2.5 years, 3 years. and it came out. It did what it needed to. Sony 100% made their money back and profited on that. And it's like more games like that need to be in the industry. More games that it's like, hey, we're not trying to make this 100-hour Goliath of a video game. There's going to be those Goliath video games that come out every year. Call of Duty, Madden, the usual suspects, and of course your live service black holes. But like, if you want like your new IP to do well, calm down with the budget, slow it down, and try to make a fun game first and foremost.
Yeah, and it's like we know that Firewalk had like even with a studio like Firewalk, I feel like they had enough people where like they could have been working on something small alongside Concord. Well,
Oh yeah.
easier said than done, obviously, but at least it's like they don't put all their hands onto Concord. So if Concord fails, it's over for the studio. They should like there should be more studios out there when you're big enough. I feel like if you have 120 people or bigger, even if you maybe have like 100 people or bigger, you should be able to work on like two things at once. One can be a bigger upscaled project, but you should always have something smaller where it's like, okay, our big project is taking extra long or it's taking too much money. At least we have this little thing that can be pushed out to the side, that come out, make us more income to put into our bigger thing, and just keep us afloat. Because you need something to keep you afloat. Because once the gigantic thing fails, you're done. You're under. You've put everything onto that one gigantic thing, and then now you have nothing.
100%. And moving into Neon Koi, kind of the second studio to get shut down. This, I mean, Future, you were saying this. It's funny as well. It's like, does PlayStation forget they have 20 studios? It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like, I get it. Mobile is a space that PlayStation wants to be in. So why are you shutting down one of your mobile studios before they even release a game?
It's insane that like PlayStation just doesn't. I guess I'm not the business guy, so I don't know exactly like at the end of the day if shutting studios down is just better than like having them work on something. But like it doesn't make sense to me that PlayStation has bought like one or two studios in the last like 2 years, 3 years, and they've shut down like six. Like they're just going backwards compared to like where Xbox on the other side. Yes, it's not all sunshine and rainbows over there, but they've brought like thousands and thousands of employees and new studios and like gigantic things over there, new IPs, and like we've been saying for years like PlayStation at some point has to like buy someone or has to like make their own studios. They have to do something to keep up, and instead they're just not keeping up and they're going the opposite direction and firing people.
I mean, it kind of tells me PlayStation's strategy. We got a glimpse of it in this year. I think they're really shifting towards these second party deals now. I mean, you see Stellar Blade, you see Helldivers 2, both very big successes for them. Obviously, Helldivers 2 substantially bigger. And I think PlayStation's like, hey, maybe we don't need to have like our first parties, like have like 20 first party studios just to say, hey, this is a first party game. Because to everyone, they just see the PlayStation Studios logo and just assume it's PlayStation and it's exclusive to PlayStation, even if it's not technically part of their studio makeup. So maybe they want to try to focus more on that and like have those subsidize their first party releases instead of trying to make more studios.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think what was the recent game that like it was in the news? Oh, Crimson Desert. That's what it's called.
Yeah, Crimson Desert.
Yeah, last
Black
night we even
Desert.
saw.
Oh, Crimson Desert.
Yeah, Crimson Desert. We even saw that like apparently who know I forget if they said the rumor was true or not, but we even saw like headlines about like PlayStation tried to get Crimson Desert as being an exclusive game to the PlayStation. So like obviously that is PlayStation's route of saying, hey, we're not going to make new studios or go out there and buy Bethesda. We're just going to put our second party games out there and bring us a lot of money and bring people in to buy PlayStation because it's still working. The PlayStation 5 is still selling really well and people are still excited about PlayStation as a brand. But I think the thing that's just going to, I think the thing we're going to look back on at the beginning of the PlayStation 5's life cycle is just the push for live service with Jim Ryan just completely flopped. I mean, it completely took all the wind out of the sails for the first 4 years. And they're now kind of having to go that route of, hey, now we're going to throw money at, like you said, Stellar Blade and Rise of the Ronin and Helldivers and like these, even Wukong to an extent, where Wukong's going on PlayStation. We're going to throw money at these studios and rake in more fans because these games are only on PlayStation, even if it's only for a year or 6 months, whatever. You can only play it on PlayStation. It almost feels like that's their way of bringing in a bunch of money that they've lost from the live service push, which we know they've scaled back on. And at this point, I wish they would just completely scale back on it and go back to ground zero and say, we're done, or maybe do 1 or 2 every 5 years, something like that. We don't need 6 new live service games. That's why I'm concerned slightly about like Haven's new game. Because Haven could be a situation where, yeah, Haven could be a situation where, like, I think Greg Miller said it on Kind of Funny a few days ago, where he said he wouldn't be surprised if that game, Fair Games, just gets completely canceled before it even comes out. Like, PlayStation just says, hey, we're not even going to put this game out there.
Full scorched earth.
Yeah, completely just like throw it under the rug and say, no, we're not going to, because we've seen it once in 3 years. If that game just randomly got canceled, it wouldn't be a shock to anyone. People would be like, yeah, that makes sense. But the thing is, a cancellation like that makes me terrified for the studios, because then it's like, if they cancel that game, why do they need Haven around? They bought, you know what I mean? They brought in Haven. It's part of PlayStation Studios. It seems like it doesn't matter. Like, you cancel that game, and next thing you know, you can just kick them to the curb and be like, we don't need you anymore. We'll just make another second-party deal.
Yeah, because if you cancel that game, then that studio has effectively just lost you money over the last 4 years. Because they don't have a game. This is their first game. So it's just like they're sitting there doing nothing, twiddling their thumbs. It's like, oh, we're getting another project going underway. But no, with current game development times, that's going to take like 5 years. And it's like, well, 5 years and the studio is just going to burn money for us again.
Yeah.
So overall, it would take it'd be 10 years of the studio burning money for us and not releasing anything. Versus Herman just looks at the spreadsheet, or Hiroki Totoki looks at the spreadsheet. It's like, yeah, just get rid of them, and then we get that money back. We don't deal with it. It's like, that's just a shitty way. That's business affecting gaming, affecting the creative process, which I always hate. And listen, I'm not going to sit here and try to say like, oh, I'm excited for Fair Games. I could care less about it, but like, I want to see what they can do. I want to at least give them a chance. But also, there's a situation like Concord where you look at that game and it's like, maybe you shouldn't have given them a chance. I don't want to say given them a chance, but you should have done more to try to position that game in a better way, a better light. It's just business decisions being already. And also, to talk about it, in general, we have to talk about how the games that they canceled in the live service push, Last of Us and Spider-Man.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
The two that would have done well, but Concord stays? It's like, wait, what are we doing here? If you were scared about the future of Last of Us, have Firewalk be the support studio for that game. Easy. I don't understand how it's this. You buy Bungie, which also is a cataclysmic failure in that regard, where they're basically putting all their chips on Marathon, which I don't know is going to be enough for that studio. Yeah, I'm right there with you. Like, this is one of the worst decisions Sony has ever made, is this live service push. And I hope that, I mean, the games are still good. Like, when we get the single player games, Astrobot, that is a game of the year contender. That's one of the best games I've played in years. And I am so excited for Ghost of Yotei, and I'm so excited to see what Naughty Dog does, what Insomniac's next game is. Actually, I could care less about Wolverine, but we'll get into that. But like, all these other games, we're still getting shit out of Sony that I love. It's just clouded by all this live service slop that a lot of people who don't know are like, oh, this is replacing the single player games. No, they're not. But it looks like that's the case. And that is not something you want to be in the position to be in.
And on that Last of Us thing, I would not be shocked if it wasn't for, I think personally that Naughty Dog pushed back against PlayStation and said we can't do it because we can't put this game out and work on the next single player game. They've openly said that. They're like, if we put this game out, we would have been working on it for years, and like the next single player game wouldn't have came. I would almost guarantee PlayStation still wanted that Last of Us game out the door. I would assume they're like, no, we need this online thing. But Naughty Dog has such a reputation in PlayStation that they're big enough to say, hey, no, we can't do this. Like, if we're going to put this game out, you're not getting another game from us for 10 years. Like, that's just how it works. And I assume they pushed back so hard where PlayStation actually had to take a step back and be like, okay, whatever, I guess you can cancel it. The Spider-Man one doesn't make any sense to me because that feels like such a slam dunk of, let's put out a Spider-Man multiplayer game that would have sold millions of copies like on day one. Everyone would have been involved. That one I don't understand, where it's just like, why did, like you said, you greenlit Concord, and then you're like, Insomniac, a studio that's well known, has won a bunch of awards. Like, they need to win more awards. They keep getting slandered in recent years, but like,
seriously,
putting out a Spider-Man game at the very least, even if it was just like a Spider-Man PvE co-op experience, you're getting a couple million sales like immediately.
Oh yeah. Rough situations all around. And continuing on to exactly what you were saying about Insomniac, we get into our next story, still on the Sony train. PlayStation's Wolverine director has taken over Xbox's Perfect Dark. Ratchet & Clank leads will now helm Insomniac's Marvel title. As reported by GameFile, this, by the way, Andy Robinson at VGC. Game designer Brian Horton, who was previously named publicly as the creative director of Marvel's Wolverine title in 2021, left the studio in summer. Wolverine is now being led by the design duo behind 2021's Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, creative director Marcus Smith and game director Mike Daly. It is claimed. Wolverine's previously announced game director Cameron Christian will reportedly remain at the studio in a different role. According to GameFile sources, the change in leadership for Wolverine is the result of creative decisions around the game. The game's previous director, Horton, who previously helmed Miles Morales in 2015's Rise of the Tomb Raider, has joined his fellow Crystal Dynamics alumni at Xbox's The Initiative. Horton will be bringing his wealth of experience to the upcoming game reboot of the classic Secret Agent series, an Xbox rep confirmed to the GameFile. I mean, weird situation here. I'll be honest, Fusion, I don't know what your hype is for Wolverine. Here's my thing. You know me, I don't like licensed games. More than that, though, I like Spider-Man at least. So Spider-Man and Batman, I'll give a pass. I fucking hate Wolverine. I think Wolverine is the lamest superhero of all time, and I'll never understand how he's popular. So this is like the least time. Like, I'm gonna play this game because I like Insomniac. That's really the only reason. I don't know about you.
I wouldn't say I'd go as far as hate Wolverine because I don't, but he's definitely like to me, the movie Logan is a top 2 superhero movie ever made. Like that's like I think that's a phenomenal movie. But as a character, yeah, I don't have much writing on Wolverine, so like I'm not very excited about this. I'd rather them have like another Spider-Man out or just a Ratchet and Clank or even a new IP, like anything. That's not Wolverine, I guess, but yeah, like you said, it's Insomniac. I'm still going to play. I'm more excited for if they actually go the route of, hey, this is a gritty, darker game that they're gonna make because they've been on record. Granted, it's been years since they brought it up. They're talking about how like Wolverine's gonna be a lot darker than Spider-Man, and it's gonna fit more of the Wolverine. Yeah, M-rated, more gore, more like this gritty experience, which I would be very interested on if Insomniac can pull that off in a narrative way because we haven't seen it yet. Like Insomniac's usually that lighthearted, kind of comedic writing in all their games. So it'd be really interesting to see a total opposite of them putting out like a Wolverine. I'm sure it's still gonna have that Marvel, he's behind me, isn't it, comedy in it? But like at the end of the day, it would be a complete tonal shift from the games they put out in the last decade. So that's exciting to me.
I guess I'll ask you then, this director shift, are you worried about that? Or is this kind of just like, oh, the game's pretty much nearly complete at this point, at least assumedly, so maybe this is just like kind of getting it across the finish line type deal?
Yeah,
for both games.
Yeah, to me it's like if this was if this was super early on in the process, I would feel more concerned, but I think it is more of that situation where this creative director probably did all he wanted to. Like he put his vision out there. It's out there. Everyone else on the team now knows the vision. It's not like
everyone out there knows it.
Yeah, everyone out there knows it. And I'm sure it's a situation where Perfect Dark maybe needed an extra boost at the end of their because I would assume. Well, actually, I don't know what game comes first. I'll be honest, but
probably Wolverine, knowing Xbox's track record.
Yeah, probably. So like I would assume Perfect Dark needs a little more like near the end of the finish line help. So they're like, hey, he's probably thinking himself. He's like, okay, the Insomniac team is in good hands, and they know what the vision's out there. We've been working on this for years. Let me go over here and help Perfect Dark out. And I'm sure near the end of Perfect Dark, he would move to another project or something like that, where it's like it's not a big deal at this point of the development. I think it's more of a big deal when like you're 3 months into a game development, and then it's like, oh, the creative director leaves. That's when you like roll your eyes and you're like, something is messed up there.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, this is just one of those cases where I feel like this is maybe he's just like a really good closer. Xbox came in, offered him a deal, and he was like, "Yeah, these guys got it. I could go ahead and go for it." Perfect Dark. It makes me more worried for Perfect Dark because I feel like that is farther away, but also that seems also kind of like a closure type deal. Like he's coming in, closing the finishing touches on that game. Moving into our next story. We got some Nintendo news. Nintendo of America posted this, I think, last night. Oh no, October 30th. So it was one day. Wednesday, Nintendo Music, a new smart device app exclusively for Nintendo Switch Online members, lets you stream or download music from Nintendo's library of soundtracks. Nintendo Music will be released later today, aka Wednesday. So this came out. I downloaded it. Bench was losing his shit over it. He was so
I saw
excited.
that.
I don't know how much you have to say about a Fusion. You're not exactly the Nintendo guy, but I guess like I can ask you more broad sense. Like, what do you think of this idea of like game companies basically releasing apps to say, hey, if you subscribe, if you subscribe to the online membership, like a PS Plus, you get like this whole catalog of soundtracks, or is it just I could just use YouTube for this?
I'm like you said, I'm not like huge in Nintendo, and I haven't checked out this app to be straightforward. So like, I don't know exactly what the app looks like, but I am more of just like I would just YouTube or Spotify or like any other app that I already have. Like I already pay for Spotify Premium every month. It's like why not just listen to them there or get the music on there type stuff.
I'll
But
tell you why. Because Nintendo does not like it when you try to do that. That's the thing, is that Nintendo's very adamantly, they DMCA music a lot. So this is
I was
kind of
gonna
their
say,
way. It's so silly. I don't know.
I was gonna say this is classic. Nintendo wants to be different to me. This is the classic
Yeah.
where it's like Nintendo, like if you're a game on Xbox or a game on PlayStation, you have the entire album, the entire soundtrack on Spotify or on Apple Music or on YouTube. And Nintendo's just that company where they're like, nah, we're just make our own app. Like who like, I think if PlayStation, and it's not getting pushback because like it shouldn't, but it's just funny because it's like if PlayStation or Xbox went out and they were like, we made our own music app, people would be like, what are you doing? But it's the fact that Nintendo's doing it, people aren't even thinking twice, and they're like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah, they have a very long history of soundtracks, and let me tell you, Fusion, I want you to guess what the number of soundtracks was on day one.
Individual soundtracks.
Yep, for individual games.
How long does this go back to? Like the
Goes
start of
back to the
Nintendo?
very start of Nintendo NES era.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna guess 1,200.
Wait, for games, right? Individual games, or are you talking about songs?
Yeah, games. That's what I meant. Games, dude.
Wait. Think about games. Really think about
Okay.
1,200
Um,
songs.
I'm gonna guess 28,000 songs.
28,000 songs. And how many games would that be? 1,200? You said?
I would like between 10,000 and no, between 1,200 and 1,500 games.
Oh, Fusion. Oh,
Oh
Fusion.
no,
You really
can't
don't know
win.
Nintendo.
No, I don't.
20 games.
Oh, 20 games.
20 game soundtracks.
What?
I don't know. They were like, they're adding them over time. They added Super Mario Brothers Wonder the day after, and then
Oh,
they
are
said,
they doing that thing where they're rolling them out?
"Yep, they're rolling them
Oh
out."
my gosh, I should have known.
You should have known. Nintendo, there's always a monkey paw.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And
That makes more sense.
I'll say this: the app interface is great. There's like, it's very snappy, very quick. You can actually extend the music, which is really cool. So like, let's say you get the Wii Sports theme, you can make it go, oh, it's normally 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and now you can like kind of artificially extend it to 15 minutes, kind of like those extended mixes on YouTube, which that's really cool, like as a feature. And they also have like a spoiler hider thing where like, oh, you can mark if this game, like you don't want to see spoilers for this game, which is really weird for Nintendo games because they're not really story-based games. But hey, do your thing, Nintendo. But 20 games, man, that's just not really a lot to work with. Like they have Super Mario Galaxy, one of the best video game soundtracks, but they don't have Mario Galaxy 2. So it's like you might as well have just had both of them at launch, Nintendo. I don't know
That's
why you're like
hilarious,
rolling them out.
actually.
It's so
It's
weird.
because they're gonna every next Nintendo Direct, they're gonna be like, and here's 5 new songs. You're gonna be like, what?
Exactly. And here's one of the weirdest aspects of all this. So, okay, Fusion, work with me here. They allow you to sort by characters. So it's like Bowser. These are Bowser songs. Okay. So play like his like Bowser's Castle, Bowser's, like arena, like all those themes. But they don't let you sort by composer because the composer's names just aren't on there. So
Nintendo
like
is just such a weird company.
they're a very weird company. They only get away with it because they make good games. I'll be honest,
Yes,
man. I love
I
Nintendo.
I know.
Love them. But like, I love them because I love their games, not their business decisions. Because their business decisions are literally a flip of a dime. But yeah, Nintendo Music app. I listen, man. If Jack or Bench especially was here, Bench was saying this is the best Nintendo thing in years, and I'm like, dude, dog, there's 20 soundtracks. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. Well, does it look at least like a Spotify app or like an
Yeah,
Apple
no,
Music?
it's
Okay.
a very high quality app. Like, it's very snappy, very quick. Like, everything there is great. I feel like this is one of those things where in 2 years we're gonna have a different tone, and it's like, oh, actually, this is a really good app if you like want specifically Nintendo soundtracks. But as per usual, they gotta roll them out. It's like, God bless you, Nintendo. I
Over
was
the next
worried.
decade.
I was worried. I thought they were gonna do the basically monthly drops the same way they do with the NSO games. It seems like it's probably gonna be weekly, which hey, that's good enough. Still, would prefer daily. And then real quick, Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition is coming to Switch on March 20th, 2025. I don't have anything to say about this. You don't have anything to say about this. Neither of us are Xenoblade
Nope.
fans. Bench and Dark are excited. I guess I'll ask you this: what is the over under that Bench is disappointed by this game?
He'll be disappointed.
100%. Yep.
Yeah.
Dude, we haven't talked about it on the podcast. He was disappointed by Metaphor. I'm like, yeah, I wonder why. Every fucking day you were talking about the game.
Anytime, like, if it's a JRPG, he expects it to be a 10. And if it's not a 10, it's a disappointment. So,
God bless him. God bless him. I will say, it is interesting they're revealing this, and that they revealed the music app literally the day after. It feels like Nintendo's just like, really hates the idea of revealing the Switch 2. It's really annoying me because I'm at this point, Fusion, where it's just reveal it. Like, just say
yeah.
the name at least. Like, it's getting annoying.
And do you think with this being so late in March, is this a thing where you're like, and they don't have any Switch 2 like promo for it? Do you think this is a thing where it's like the Switch 2 is now even further than March?
Uh, it's well, okay, so it's definitely not March because it's already kind of been stated that Switch 2 wasn't going to release in the first 3 months. Pretty credible rumors there. I was always of the impression that it was going to be April or May, kind of like shooting May for it. I will say everything, like the fact that it's been this long to at least do a reveal of it, just like a commercial, basically the way they revealed the Nintendo Switch, might be released later in 2025 around the holiday season, which just is so annoying.
It's annoying because it's like, correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't there like rumors that was supposed to be out like last year?
It was literally supposed to, like, we would have had it by now.
Yeah, like
we would be playing on it.
It's weird, and it's like you would think any other studio, any other company out there, you'd be like, oh, it could be at TGA. Nope, not Nintendo. TGA,
Nintendo.
they would never announce Switch 2 at TGA. But it's like that's the sad part where like between now and the end of the year, you're like, unless they do a direct, they're not going to be at the Game Awards. So when are they going to announce the thing?
Yeah, the big rumor, Kit and Krista, they actually used to be Nintendo employees, so they would know. It seems like they're kind of thinking like, yeah, they kind of don't want to reveal it right now because the election is happening. And I'm like, God damn it, another reason why I hate politics, man. They're screwing over my Nintendo. Like, what's happening now?
And like, why does this Japanese company care about American politics?
I mean, it happened when they delayed a Nintendo Direct when the Queen died.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that.
I do remember that.
It's very much, they think about this type of stuff substantially more than I feel like they should, in my opinion. But hey, they're the multi-billion-dollar company. I'm not, so hey.
If they could reveal the Switch 2 on election day, and I promise you, the Switch 2 would be bigger news than whoever was the president.
Dude, unironically, Kamala is now the president. Just shut up. Fucking attention, dude. Look, it's the Switch 2.
In a new Mario, like it would 100% be like a gigantic. It would be a way bigger reveal than anything election day could offer anyone.
God bless. I do really hope at the very least this, because there was that thing Furukawa was basically saying, oh, Switch 2 will be revealed or the successor, because by the way, it's not even officially called the Switch 2, it's just the successor to the Nintendo Switch right now. And he was like, it'll be revealed by the end of our financial year, which ends March of next year.
That's great.
And I'm like, I swear to God, if you guys wait till next year, why would you have said anything? I hate this company sometimes. And it's, here's the thing, it doesn't affect anything. Like, I'm still going to be playing the same games I always am. It's just that feeling of, it's like when, remember when the PS5, they just officially called it the PS5. It's like, okay, it's good to know. Like, It's one of those things. I'd just rather know than just have you guys be weirdly secretive about something that we know. But yeah, Moving into our next story, which just a lot of Steam numbers, and I'm kind of interested to hear your thoughts on a couple of these. First and foremost, Monster Hunter Wilds open beta test reaches 457,000 concurrent players on Steam within an hour of release, and this is the open beta for PC players and like all players. I'll tell you, Fusion, I look at those numbers and I'm like, this is without question going to be the best-selling Monster Hunter game.
Yeah, that's pretty insane for a beta. Like that's absurd.
Day one on Steam, PlayStation 5, Xbox, like this thing's gonna do numbers. But yeah, not much else to say. Neither of us are Monster Hunter guys, unless this is the one that gets you in. I don't know if you.
I mean, that's the one I'm gonna try, but who knows if it gets me in. That's the one I want to jump into. It will be the first one I try to jump into, but like, I'm still a little. There's still something off about it where I watch and I'm like, am I even gonna like this?
It's that feeling. I don't know what I really am just from soft build where every time I see a third person action game, I'm like, dude, imagine if it played like Elden Ring though. That's 100% my fault. Also, I played Monster Hunter World. It's just not for me. It's a little too slow. But I'm
it's definitely a game where if my friend group or you guys aren't jumping into
for sure.
The game, I'm not going to be like, I'm going to buy this game and play it solo. I just can't imagine that.
That's a game, like, that's 100%. That is not a game you play solo. Like, you need someone to shepherd you. And I had someone that shepherded me with World, and I was like, I still don't get it.
You're like, this still sucks.
No, it was just like, I played it, I'm like, oh, it's so slow.
It doesn't. That's the thing. The combat looks so sluggish to me still, where it just looks like everything you do is in slow motion. I'm like, I don't want to be swinging this big sword for 12 seconds before it lands.
It's very much a game, I feel like, and this kind of outside looking in, if you're a fan of like MMO raids, I think it's a game for you. If you like hanging out with friends doing kind of big raid on giant monsters. But if you're kind of into the like snappy action like me and Fusion are, then I don't know if it's as much for us. Next up, though, is a game you're actually playing right now, Fusion. We'll talk about it later. Dragon Age the Veilguard is currently the #1 top seller on Steam worldwide, knocking off Call of Duty, biggest Steam launch ever for BioWare with 68,000 concurrent players, and biggest single-player game ever for EA, passing up Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Star Wars Jedi Survivor. The Star Wars video game. And it's doing better than that. I gotta say, man, go woke. Go to the top of the charts. Maybe that's the new slogan.
I'm so happy for BioWare at this point. Like they needed. I wasn't like I always thought it was gonna sell good and like do well, and I'm sure it probably could even do even better if like half the world wasn't yelling woke about it. But like I'm just so excited to see them be like past Star Wars is a big deal. Like biggest BioWare game, like cool. That was bound to happen because I mean their last game was.
This is day one on Steam. That's why.
Yeah, and it's like Anthem and everything else, whatever. Like there were never. It's not like the records they had before were like some incredible records to break. So like it's just cool to see that. But it's the thing of like now this is EA's biggest single player game, which is just incredible because like I say it's Star Wars, and like Star Wars is EA's biggest thing right now. So the fact that Dragon Age, which hasn't been a franchise in 10 years, comes out and they're like now breaking that record is pretty cool.
And I will say that kind of just shows it's like we try not to talk about it on the show because we just find it fucking stupid. But like all these like echo chambers, woke, DI, these people, they are not the majority of gamers. Like it looks like that's the case. They are not. They are in a bubble and they want to act like every failure is a win for them. Every success is like, oh, it's the woke. Ignore it. These people are not gamers. They are not the people who love the video game medium as much as us. And I know that sounds like, oh, you don't like the thing as much as I do. Yeah, because you don't. Because I know you don't. You clearly, because if you're going to complain about it every day, every hour, then yeah, it's clear you just don't care. It's like, okay, go ahead, do your thing. I'm going to play Astrobot, buddy.
Yeah, I think I think it was a tweet response to this Okami tweet. I forget if it was to this tweet or something else, but it was literally a tweet where someone was like, while the woke people are complaining about the game, we're just playing the games. We're just like, while everyone else is being loud and why they're upset about the game and posting like Twitter clips and going viral, the actual people who are enjoying the game are just sitting there playing it, and they have no idea everyone else is complaining about it.
I saw one post that was so fucking funny. It was like, wow, only 68,000 sales. It's like, oh my god, like head in my hands, like, oh my god. It just hurts my brain. But yeah, Dragon Age doing very, very well. Exciting to see. And then finally, another game that's doing very well, Call of Duty Black Ops 6 peaks at 306,000 concurrent players on Steam for its launch weekend. Okami Games, by the way. It's the highest player count in about 2 years since the initial relaunch on Steam in 2022, which I completely forgot that they went away from Steam for a bit
Yeah, they
with their
were on
stupid platform.
Battle.net only.
Oh, dude, I hate Blizzard. Black Ops 6 is having a bigger launch than Modern Warfare 3 while also being available on Xbox Game Pass. And then Tom Warren has this. Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella says last week's launch of Black Ops 6 was the biggest Call of Duty release ever, setting a record for day one players as well as Game Pass subscribers. Ads on launch day, unit sales on PlayStation and Steam were also up over 60% year over year. I mean, Fusion, it seems like this kind of seems like a thing of like, oh, maybe Game Pass doesn't just like reduce the sales, or maybe it does. I don't know. Like, it seems like even with the Game Pass, it's still doing absolute bonkers. I don't know. Like, you have actually been playing Black Ops 6. This seem right to you?
Yeah, I think this is the most excited people have been about Call of Duty for a while. I mean, you got zombies back. You got a lot. It's just the first Treyarch game in 4 years. I think on the Game Pass front, I think Call of Duty itself is just so big that like it was always going to sell well. Like putting it on Game Pass felt more of like a, hey, if you're on Xbox or PC, it's an extra treat kind of thing, where it's like people on Steam and people on PlayStation were always going to buy Call of Duty. And you know what I mean? They were just gonna get it anyway. So I think the whole, oh, you can put a game on Game Pass and have good sales things still isn't known, because all the think of Hi-Fi Rush and Starfield and so many other games where like aren't as giant as Call of Duty. They've still missed the mark when they're Game Pass only, sales wise. So like I wouldn't say this is like a, oh, Game Pass proves you can do both. I think this just proves how gigantic Call of Duty is.
100%, yeah. I mean, of course, the Black Ops name, and it seems like this is the one that kind of brings back a lot of the things that Black Ops fans and Call of Duty players really wanted back.
And if you like you said, the Black Ops name, granted, it's been 4 years since a Treyarch game. It's been since 2018 since a Black Ops title. You know what I mean? Even Cold War, even though Cold War is technically Black Ops 5, it had no Black Ops in the name. So like,
well, no, it had Black Ops in the game name.
Call of Duty
Black Ops Cold War.
Cold War, yeah, you're right. You're right.
You just completely blanked it out of your mind. I was like, I don't
did.
think about that game anymore.
So yeah, I guess you're right. I guess this is the first one with a number since the last one with a number. And people like their brains are like, oh, Black Ops 4, what up with the Black Ops 5? Oh, whatever, Black Ops 6 is out, and they just go play Black Ops 6.
100%. It kind of shows us like, oh, maybe the number doesn't matter as much.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, it just goes to show. It's like Call of Duty is kind of this juggernaut that can't be stopped. I didn't put it in the doc, but I'll ask real quick. There's still 15 studios working on Call of Duty. Oh, I hate that. Because it means it's like, oh, it seems like that Activision purchase didn't actually matter and allows these studios to do other shit like Beanox and, God, what's the other studio called that was like really good? But like Beanox is the big one where it's just like.
Toys for Bob?
No, Toys for Bob is already gone though, so they're not.
Well, yeah.
High Moon Studios, that's it. But like studios that have worked on great games in the past, it's like, oh nope, you're in the Call of Duty mines. It's like, I wonder how long that's actually gonna last. It seems like maybe it'll last forever. Which
I was gonna say, it would probably be a forever thing because Call of Duty probably needs it. They might need that many people work on it because it is a very big, polished product every year. But it is that thing where like the silver lining of Microsoft buying Call of Duty, we're like. The people who had hearts at the end of the day were like, oh, hopefully this means like Call of Duty isn't yearly and less people have to work on Call of Duty. Obviously, doesn't seem like it's happening because business perspective, why would Microsoft ever like take less money? But it is interesting that there was, I think yesterday, I forget who tweeted out, someone on the Xbox side of Twitter tweeted out something about like Sledgehammer Games is now working on an Unreal Engine 5 game that's not Call of Duty. So it's like Sledgehammer has been a studio that's only worked on Call of Duty for the last decade. It'd be interesting to see if they're now working on something. Like I think it would be really cool to see them go work on Halo. Like Halo needs the help. Sledgehammer did really good with Call of Duty. They know first-person shooters. They know multiplayer.
Wait, your team Sledgehammer? I thought you were against them.
No, I'm against Infinity Ward. Infinity Ward is my least favorite.
Oh my god, no! Sledgehammer is way worse. What are you talking about? Legacy-wise, Infinity Ward shits on Sledgehammer.
Well, yeah, but Sledgehammer started. Their first game ever was Advanced Warfare.
Well, no, technically it was Modern Warfare 3.
Well, yeah,
it's the weakest of that trilogy.
Which they helped co-direct it, but like, I would say,
Oh
I
yeah,
know.
you like Advanced Warfare. I forgot.
Yes, Advanced Warfare is like in my top 5 personally.
Okay, but like Fusion, World War II, and Vanguard, those are like some of the worst.
Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 2019 are the worst in my opinion.
Wait, you're talking about new Modern Warfare 2, right?
Yes, the new ones. Yes.
You want to know something? I think they're better than Vanguard.
Well, Vanguard bad. Yeah, I would admit that. I think Call of Duty World War II from 2017 isn't terrible.
World War II campaign wise, I like, but like that I hate the maps in World War II. They're just
And
so boring.
Sledgehammer just made last year's Call of Duty, which they weren't supposed to. They got thrown into it, and I think Modern Warfare 3 as a product, map wise,
Don't you dare!
Like, I think Modern Warfare 3. I think they did a really good job at like the last year was the best post content Call of Duty's ever had in the 20 years of it being a franchise.
Okay, well, I can't argue with that as much because I'm not as familiar with the post content plans with regards to that game. But here's my thing: Modern Warfare 3 effectively just had maps from Modern Warfare 2, like original Modern Warfare 2.
And those were the worst
maps
maps.
were good.
That's why the post content had to be so good because the original Modern Warfare 2 maps were the worst maps.
No, you're a fucking bad person. You're gonna say that about Terminal? About Rust?
There's there's Terminal, Rust. That's where the list ends. The Modern Warfare 2 good maps.
No, it is not. No, High Rise.
Okay, High Rise, yes.
Hang on. Now I gotta fucking check. I know.
I'm telling you.
No. Because I'm gonna fucking
bad. Afghan
no,
bad.
you are not saying that about Estate. Estate is awesome.
Okay, but imagine. Let me put it in this perspective. Imagine those original Modern Warfare 2 maps now in a game that has doors, tactical sprint, and everything's just faster and more cracked out. It doesn't work.
I mean, I feel like you could try it.
I mean, they did try it, and I mean that's what we had it, and it was like, and it's
Fusion.
also it felt like one
Favela?
of those things. I love Favela back in the day. I promise you now, Favela is like there's doors you have to open on every building. It's bad. I mean, it's not a fun time.
Favela. I played it in the beta. I fucking loved Favela.
Like there's something about. And it almost brings back that point where I hope I don't get with the Black Ops 2 maps because, like, I'm always on record. Black Ops 2 is the best Call of Duty that's ever made. It's always against Black Ops 2 and Modern Warfare 2. That's the big debate, and I'm always like in the standpoint that Black Ops 2 like obliterates Modern Warfare 2 across the board.
Oh my god! Oh.
So
our Call of Duty opinions are so different.
I mean, they are. I'm scared that we're gonna get to a point where, if the next year's rumors are true and there's a bunch of Black Ops 2 remakes, I'm scared that those maps are gonna have the same effect this year where. A lot of people got really bored of the original Modern Warfare 2 maps again because we played it so much 15 years ago when we were 10 years old. Like, we know those maps like the back, even though it was the first time we played them a while, they brought them back and we're like, no, we want something new. And that makes me fearful for like when they do the same thing with Black Ops, when it happens, when they're like, oh, we're going to remaster all these Black Ops maps. I hope I don't get to the point where I'm like, now I dislike these maps because I've played them 100 times.
I think it's that thing of like, you'll remember it way more, like the good stuff way more. Because it's like we remember stuff like Hijacked from Black Ops 2, like that God tier map, or
Raid, Standoff.
Raid. Oh my god, so many classics. But like, I don't know if this is a controversial opinion. When I went back to play Black Ops 1, I always heard about like, Firing Range. That's one of the best maps. I fucking hate that map. That map sucks.
I love Firing Range.
Firing Range is the worst. No, you know what sucks about it is like the actual Firing Range stuff is fine, but then there's like this little side area and like the grass and like kind of near the island part. I don't know if I'm remembering it correctly, but I remember it's just like every time I'd go there, I'd get killed. And it's like, I hate this. This map sucks. But then I'd go on fucking Raid, and it's like, you know what, my day's better.
Exactly. Like Raid, my opinion, is the best Call of Duty map ever made, is Raid. And like that's from Black Ops 2, which is why it's like, I think they can get away with it more, where it's like, I've always said, I know it's going to be controversial. I've always said Modern Warfare 2 is the number one Call of Duty that people look back with the most rose-tinted glasses. Because if you go back and play it, it's not the same game you think it was. Like the maps aren't as good. It just doesn't hold up as well as a Black Ops 2, in my opinion.
I mean, maybe I'll give you the maps and the multiplayer. Maybe I can give you that because the multiplayer in Black Ops 2 is some of the best. But it's just like, God, dude, that campaign. And I'm the more of the campaign player than you, but it's just like I love the MW2 campaign so much. But I also really love the Black Ops 2 campaign. Oh man, I mean, like, here's the thing: we're talking about two goats, in my opinion. I love both those games.
And I know you're not a big zombies guy, but only one of them had zombies.
Okay, but like, no, who the fucking cares about zombies in Dark? I'm sorry. He's so weird about that, dude. Just play Left 4 Dead. That's the best zombies game ever.
Remember, Black Ops 2 zombies were incredible.
I played a bit of Black Ops 2 zombies. I'm like, I just want to play Left 4 Dead instead. Like, it was Black Ops Zombies was basically console version of Left 4 Dead, where it's just like, well, this
Yeah.
is fine, but like Left 4 Dead is better.
And I'm not a big zombies person, so I could care less. Like if so, like you don't like zombies, I don't really. I'm not a huge zombies person, so like I'm never gonna be like, well, this game had zombies and the other didn't because I don't play zombies like that.
Anyways, we went on a huge tangent, but hey, I like talking about Call of Duty with you, Fusion. You're the Call of Duty guy. I do want to talk about our next story, which is Capcom. A bit more on the sales numbers wise. This is a quick hitter. Updated the sales numbers of their biggest series and also gave some updated sales numbers of other games. Resident Evil and Monster Hunter are both over 100 million units. Resident Evil series 163 million, Monster Hunter 105 million. And that was kind of the main stuff. There's stuff like Mega Man at 42, little things like they talk about, but I think it's pretty interesting that both Resident Evil and Monster Hunter are that high. It kind of goes to show, you think that's just going to kind of stick to basically Resident Evil Monster Hunter being the big heavy stuff with Capcom. You're going to get those like at the very least 2 years.
Yeah, it definitely. And this is, I'm not going to try to bring up Square Enix just to make people mad. This is the thing where I say about where people are like, oh, Square Enix needs a Capcom moment. Square Enix doesn't have these franchises that are selling like Capcom. Like, yep. They don't have the multi 100 millions each where like people are like so excited about the next one. It just doesn't work.
I mean, that's the thing is that it's like they have series that have that possibility. Nier Automata sold 8 million. That's insanely good for a game of that type. So it's like maybe if you tried to build up the Nier series more, you could actually get to that point, but they don't. They keep relying on Final Fantasy, which is a series that I'm going to check out the sales right now. I don't think it's even sold as well as Resident Evil franchise-wise. And guess what, Fusion? There's like 15 of them. Or 16 now. Final Fantasy franchise sales. And there's also spin-offs and all this other stuff. I cannot find it. Give me 1 second. Estimated $20 billion as of 2024. So,
I mean, there's this. I mean, it's reset era from 2023. Oh, this headline says 180 million, but
yeah, I'm seeing it now. 180 million units worldwide. I see it at the video game sales wiki. So obviously not perfect things, but like here's the thing: there are substantially more Final Fantasy games than Resident Evil.
Yes, a lot of them.
The fact that Resident Evil is closing in on that now,
and like 7 remakes, 16 remasters,
and spin-offs on top of spin-offs, it's like, yeah, of course it's gonna be like higher, but like. It shouldn't be that like close. 163 versus 180. It's like it really shouldn't be that close, guys. And then also I want to add this: Capcom's best-selling games in units from April through September weren't games released during that time. Dragon's Dogma 2 was in March. Not shocking, been a quiet year. Steven Totilo posted this. Kunitsu-Gami, Ace Attorney Investigations, Dead Rising Remaster, etc., all below 647,000 units sold as of September 30th. So I will say, Ace Attorney Investigations, not surprising. It's a niche franchise. These numbers were brought up around like 2 months of its release. So it's like, it wasn't going to sell like 1 million. Kunitsu-Gami, same thing. It seems like it's doing pretty much around what it's expected with the Game Pass numbers. I'm a little with Dead Rising Remaster though, because Dead Rising is a name that was very popular back in the day. Do you think Dead Rising, I don't know your history with the franchise if you care much, but like, do you think it has the sauce to like kind of be one of the big dogs with Capcom, or is it just kind of sit around like, oh, maybe it hits 1 million by the end of the year and that's it?
Yeah, I think I've played 2 Dead Rising games. I played, I think not the most recent one, but the 2 before them.
Oh, 4 and 3.
Yeah, and it's like it's not. I don't think it will ever have the sauce to be like some major hitter. I think it kind of. I think it was that like 360 early Xbox One era game where it's just like fun zombie stuff, but more people again they're obviously not exactly competing, but you have Resident Evil zombie game, Dead Rising zombie game. One just is a higher quality across the board.
Mm-hmm.
I think they should just be happy if, yeah, like you said, if Dead Rising ever just passes 1 million sales.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, I think it's going to be interesting watching the Capcom trajectory from here. They're still very much in that Capcom era, and I'm very excited to see more of that.
Last thing about sales real quick, it's going to go back to Call of Duty, so sorry about that. It's just so funny seeing people on Twitter because Call of Duty finally passed 500 million like on 500 million as a franchise. Yeah, which is insane and only behind Mario. And I saw so many people be like, that doesn't sound like a lot. Like, second ever? Like, it's more than GTA, more than everything else, but literally Mario. And people are like, that doesn't sound like a lot. I'm like, what do you expect? Like,
500 million is insane. I mean, you said GTA, and obviously Call of Duty's yearly, but like still, like that says a lot about just how big of a juggernaut this franchise and IP is.
someone was like, I saw some tweet that was like, it had like 40,000 likes, which just shows how bad people are like uneducated. They're like, so you're telling me it's still sold less than GTA 5? I'm like, where are you getting your GTA 5 number at? Because that is not even remotely correct.
Oh yeah, GTA 5 is at 200 million.
Yeah, like GTA 5 still sold insanely well for one game, but like, come on now, it didn't sell more than the entire Call of Duty franchise.
Exactly. Yeah. I would say this is a weird thing. I know they tried to do this in the past, but it really shows it's like, man, they could make a Call of Duty movie and gross over $1 billion probably. Like I feel like that thing would be huge if it was good.
Especially, yeah, if they did, I feel like. If they did it, like, I feel like they would have to pick a very iconic character. I know everyone's gonna disagree, but I think Price would be the easiest person.
Yep,
I know everyone's like, who the heck's
100%.
Captain Price? But like,
Soap McTavish.
oh,
I love those characters, by the way, but it's just like, yeah, I guess like people don't think of Call of Duty and think of
well,
that.
it's kind of funny. They're when they were doing
Yeah,
their
the game
Jeopardy,
show.
like,
Who's
like,
Captain Price?
I
Or
know,
Soap
like,
McTavish.
yeah, they're like Soap. That's a fake name. It's like, how do you guys not know Soap?
Come on, guys. You didn't play the campaigns, you fakers. But yeah, I'm very interested to see more sales numbers, obviously. I don't know where my transition was. What I am interested more, though, is Marathon, aka Bungie's basically their final bet, as the reports say. We got some details. Okami Games has this. First look at the Thief and Stealth Runners. I guess that's heroes, seem to operate similarly to classes in Battlefield, i.e. unique kits, abilities, but free to customize weapon and gear. PvE with mobs of enemies roaming the map. Complete quests as you explore the map. Successfully extract to keep all your loot. Game is still set in the original Marathon universe. Will include elements familiar to longtime fans. Bungie will be expanding their playtest significantly in 2025. Here's my thing that immediately came to me, Fusion, and that's game is still set in the original Marathon universe. Guys, just let it fucking go. Nobody knows what that game is. Nobody played Marathon. Like, I'm sorry. I know that sounds harsh. And like, oh, man, you don't know. We were there. No, you weren't. Whenever people talk about the best PC games of all time, they like even in the 90s, as they talk about Doom or Wolfenstein, they don't talk about fucking Marathon. Nobody knows what Marathon was. So it's weird for them to be like, yep, there's a new game in that iconic franchise. What iconic franchise? You
to
can
be fair,
technically call it that, but still, it's weird.
To be fair, it's like it's not. There's no downside of doing that though, because again, no one's played it, so at least it helps you bring in like those 4 hardcore fans. Like they get really excited, and the rest of us are just like, okay, whatever. We don't know the universe, so it's all new to us, anyways.
Yeah, but I guess I'll jump onto you, Fusion. Jump onto you. I'm sorry. I'll jump to you. What's your like feeling on Marathon? We're getting closer. We're probably going to get a full reveal. I think Bungie straight up said you will see the game in 2025, which is also supposedly its release date still. I don't know how to feel about this game. This is not my genre or type of game. So like I'm going to really rely on you here.
I'm still extremely excited. I know I'm like the Bungie apologist on the podcast every time we bring up Bungie, just because I think at the end of the day, you can hate Bungie's business decisions. They're not always the greatest, but I think their pure shooting gameplay is top 3 to 5 in the industry. I mean, it is just incredible what they do with the gameplay over there. And I think Marathon, like, it's one of the things where people always bring up like extraction shooters, and they're like, it's such a crowded genre, and it's like, no, it's not. You can't name 3 of them, and the only one you can name that's good is Escape from Tarkov. Like,
it's the only one. It's just like, man, the extraction shooter genre. They're talking about it like it's the big thing. It's like, guys, there's one game in it,
and it's only on PC. You cannot play it on console. I think this game, if done right, will be gigantic. Maybe not gigantic, but big. And it's just
Destiny,
like
big or a little.
I would think, if I'm logically thinking, it would be small. I would think smaller than Destiny, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's a world where it's bigger than Destiny because it's more of a casual. You don't need to know the Destiny lore to be excited about the next Destiny. You just jump into Marathon. It's going to be more casual of like jump into a game, get out, like that Call of Duty experience in a way where it's just like you have an hour of your day. Okay, let's play 3 Marathon matches or however long these matches are going to take type thing. Where it's like Destiny. is a more like narrative MMO style where like there's just less people looking for those games right now compared to I feel like what a marathon could go for. I'm excited about like when I not many games does the whole PvPvE thing anymore. And I love PvPvE. I love when
Oh
it's
yeah.
like, hey, there's your AIs, there's your NPCs out there that you can kill, and there's also you have to worry about real life players. That's like a thing that like you don't see a lot of genres do, which is great in an extraction shooter setting, which I'm really excited about. I like having that thing where it's like, oh, me and my buddies are paired up and we're trying to get this thing from like the computer players that are in this game, like a boss or something, and then next thing you know, a whole nother team rolls up on us, and now we're having a firefight between the AI and also real players. Like, it just adds an extra element that is very rare in most multiplayer games. You don't get that because most multiplayer games are obviously just PvP or just PvE. So I'm really excited about that point. And I just think Bungie knows art direction. Their art direction is so good and so strong in every game they've ever made. So I'm just excited to see more of like what this game looks like in action and like what kind of environments and things they're going to be able to create. I hope this game does well for Bungie's sake and just for the sake of we need more extraction shooters and we definitely need more on the console that people actually care about. I know people will always bring up Hunt Showdown, which is on the consoles, but Hunt Showdown's like
Nobody cares about that game.
yes, no one cares, and it's less of a extraction shooter than a true like Escape from Tarkov extraction shooter experience, which I think Marathon will be leaning more to. I'm just excited to see more. Hopefully, I can get in one of their playtests next year. Like I'm gonna try to like sign up or whatever and do those. I wish this was a TGA joint where they would show this at TGA, but like you said, it sounds like they're not ready to show it till sometime in 2025. But
Yeah.
it'd be a cool surprise if they're like, and here's marathon gameplay.
Like a teaser, just show like,
Yeah.
hey, this is what it's gonna look like. I will say, I don't know if you remember at the third party presentation for Xbox earlier this month, that Souls like extraction shooter. I want you to know, when I heard Souls like extraction game, I was so angry. I was like, this is the worst combination of words I've ever heard in my life. As a
Yeah,
Souls like fan. It's
yeah,
like
that
you
is
do not mix those.
definitely something. And unique that this is a game that is on the Xbox. It's a PlayStation game on the Xbox. Like, you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
like and it's the only one. I mean, other than MLB The Show, but like that's the thing where it's like we thought we had rumblings about like, hey, Bungie sounds like they're just getting completely taken over from PlayStation. I wonder if Marathon will truly come to the Xbox still. They reiterated this week that hey, this is still an Xbox game. So even then, that's just more people can play. A game like this, you need as many people as you can get. So it's good to see that like, hey, they're still gonna have Xbox and they're having PC and they're having PlayStation and everyone can play the game. And hopefully it's good and it'll just be a good win story for Bungie. Even though the final shape just happened and it was an incredible reviews, but then like 2 months later, there's like a bunch of layoffs and everything at Bungie. It feels like every time they get a win, they immediately get a loss right after.
Yeah. I'm interested to see very much like where this lands Bungie as a company moving forward, because they are such a kind of storied historic developer in the industry who has switched hands so many times, and it's like you don't want to see them go away at this point, but like it really is all the bets are on Marathon to do well for
And
them, because Destiny's slowing down and they don't even have a Destiny 3 in development, which is just bananas to me.
And they're such a Destiny company. Like people think Bungie, they immediately think Destiny. I think they wanna. We know they've been on record. They didn't want to make Destiny 2 in the first place. Destiny 2 was not a game they were gonna make. So it's like, hopefully Marathon gives them that leeway of getting out of the Destiny universe, which I'm sure they'll have more Destiny stuff. Destiny is gigantic still. Like they're gonna have more Destiny stuff, but it'd be nice to see Marathon be a win. So then they can be like, oh, we're also gonna build up our Marathon franchise, and hey, we might one day, hopefully, please make a single player only experience at one point. And like then it's like, oh, now from the creators of Destiny and Marathon and whatever else, like more people can be excited for Bungie if you're not a Destiny fan. Because if you're not a Destiny fan, you don't care about Bungie right now.
But that's everything regarding our news for the day. Week, pretty decent news week. Some good stuff here and there. I do want to bring this little list up. We are in November now, Fusion. So I just want to get very quick. Okami Games has a list of November releases. Just a 1 to 10. Not even like, are you picking this up? 1 to 10 of interest. Like, how interested are you to at least play this game? Maybe later on. And I'll give my numbers as well. Metal Slug Tactics, November 5th, 7.
3. It's not my. I know people have been waiting years for that game, but like it's not just something I'm into.
Yeah, I'm interested in it, but it's very much a reviews type deal for me. Mario and Luigi Brothership, probably around an 8, 7.5 for me. Depends again on reviews.
I'd give it a 4, solid 4.
A 4, okay. I want you to know if by the end of this list you don't give anything an 8, people are going to think you don't like games. I want you to know that. I know these aren't your things, by the way. Okay, stick with me. Empire of Ants. I've never heard of this.
Never heard of that game. That's a 0.
Slitterhead, dude. This is a 10 out of 10 of I cannot wait to watch a playthrough of this game, but 0 from me playing.
Yeah, I was just saying that's another 0. I have no interest in that.
It looks so bad. I can't wait to watch people play it. The Rise of the Golden Idol, 4. I haven't played the first game.
I haven't played the first game either, so I'll give it a 4. I'll be around there.
Tetris Forever, 10. I mean, come on, it's Tetris. I love Tetris.
I'm never gonna play it, so I'm gonna have to give it a 0 for the fact that I'll just never play it.
It's fine, Fusion. All right, just say it's a 10 for me. Like you're excited to watch me play it.
I am excited for the Tetris fans like you to play this game.
Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D remake. That's a 9 for me. Love the original, and I'm excited to. Everything they've shown is absolutely phenomenal. I cannot wait.
That's like a 6 for me. It's a game where it's like I want to be excited to play that game, but for some reason
you will not like it.
Exactly. For some reason,
it's not a story based. Like as a JRPG, you have to like kind of the gameplay and vibes of JRPGs. I'm not saying you don't, but it's very much like you're not getting like an incredible story out of it. It's not a story based game at all. It's very like you like the story if you like the Saturday morning cartoon vibes, basically, which I love, but I know a lot of people aren't.
I think I'm at a 6 purely based off of just how good the art style is.
It's so pretty, dude. I love the Octopath style. Mike. Oh wait, no, I skipped one. Lego Horizon Adventures. I kind of.
Now we're talking.
I'm secretly at a 6 of like, I will check this out when it's on sale.
I'm at an 8 here. This is the game that like out of this whole list, I assume probably not day one, just because we're gonna talk about Life is Strange later. But like Life is Strange is my after Dragon Age game, hopefully. So it probably just won't. This won't be a day one, but I would hopefully get to this game before the Sagis is my plan.
Okay, I'm interested. Yeah, I mean, maybe if it's on Black Friday for like $40, $30.
Yeah, I'm hoping this is like it goes down like $20 less than retail on Black Friday or something.
Mm-hmm. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. I have not played the last game, and it's a very like story-based franchise, so I got to give it a 0.
Yeah, I'm giving that a 0. Somewhere. Okay. Bop's so mad at us.
Okay, secretly I'm actually kind of at like a 5 because like the trailer for it was kind of like, oh, I kind of like this, but like if I want a simulator game, I got Power Wash Simulator.
I mean, I guess it's on Game Pass, right? So like, I'm sure I could load up on my PC and maybe give it a try once just to see like because that game probably looks incredible.
That's my thing. I feel like it just would like destroy my Xbox and my PC. Like I saw the gigabyte count, and it's like I can't even like download that to check it out because it's just too big. Because it's all of Earth. And then finally, Stalker 2, Heart of Chernobyl. This is a weird one. Initially, I was like, oh, Fallout-looking game. Okay, like an 8. But as more comes out, I'm just like, I don't think this is for me specifically. Because it's so, like, sim-based. So it's probably around a 6, but I want to be surprised by it.
Yeah, I've definitely came down from, like if you asked me this in, like, January of this year, I would say a 9. Now I'm more like of a 7. I'll look at reviews, but it is that thing of like it does look more hardcore than I would like, especially from like a few weeks ago. I went and started the Metro series, and then ended up getting far in it because I forget what I ended up playing. What came out? I don't know. Too. Oh yeah, Silent Hill 2 came out like too quick for me to get far in the Metro, but it was like way more hardcore than I expected. Where like I had to look at my ammo count and buy ammo and like wipe my mask off when it got blood on it, and like that's the vibe Stalker 2 is giving me. And it's like, do I really want that hardcore of a game? Probably not, but it still looks visually insane. And like, if the gunplay feels as good as it looks, it's probably a game I do like load up Game Pass and play.
100%. Moving into, I guess I'll just say real quick, November. Kind of a lower month for game releases, obviously after the October as well. It seems like it's very much a break month, which is funny because November used to be the biggest month of the year for game releases.
I was about to say that.
Completely shifted. I feel like, do you think maybe it's kind of a little bit of TGA energy?
I've always said that, but people will refuse. They're like, companies don't care about TGA. Yes, they do. That like they care.
They care enough to at least go like, yeah, might as well release in October. It works better for us. Anyway.
Yeah, nothing because like you said, like I think it's been years. It's almost felt like this entire generation since the PS5, Xbox Series X came out. That
Yeah.
November has just been like the dead month, and now it's just like October. It's like August, September, October acts like the fall of video games, and like November hits and you
Yeah.
don't get anything like massive anymore. We were supposed to have Shadows, which would have been, hey, that's the massive Assassin's Creed game, but obviously we saw that got delayed.
Is there anything in December? Let me check
Not
real quick.
that I know of.
I think Hitman
Silk
World of
Song, hopefully.
Assassination PSVR 2. Oh my god, dude, you completely oh my god, Silk Song, holy shit.
Hopefully, you know.
It's November. What happened to that game? Oh my god. I'm sorry, I don't want to bring up bad memories for you. Marvel Rivals 2. Oh, Indiana Jones.
Oh yeah. Oh duh. And yeah, what, December, what day is it?
9th. I'll be honest, I think that is such a fucking throw. I feel like
It
you shouldn't
is.
release that game in December. Nobody cares at that point.
It's the Avatar to me. Like how last
Yeah.
year they put Avatar in December and then that game was like no one bought this game. That feels like Indiana Jones.
100%. But yeah, November, very slow month, but hey, I gotta catch up on my backlog. I got a lot of shit to play. So I'm pretty happy with that. Moving into reviews of the week, Dragon Age: The Veilguard. Fusion, you can actually talk about your impressions of this game. It is at an 82 on OpenCritic. IGN gave it a 9. I got some 10s, but then like stuff like VGC gave it a 3 out of 5. Seems weird. There's definitely some mixed reviews on the YouTube critic wise. I know a couple of big YouTube critics I follow gave it like a pretty low score overall, or at least like low impressions. But then you just see a lot of the critic sides, and people are very high on it. I will say this is kind of what I expected. I was expecting the score to be a little higher, but knowing how diehard a lot of the critics are for Dragon Age and BioWare, I'm not too surprised. But I wasn't ever going to play this game, so I think it's more likely, it's more interesting to hear what Fusion thinks of it as someone who is playing the game. So what do you think?
Yeah, I picked it up yesterday. For one, lame start that. I took the day off work yesterday. I got PTO. I was like, I'll take work off. I'll wake up at 8 a.m. play the game. I couldn't. They didn't let you download the game till noon Eastern. So the first 5 hours of my day, I'm just sitting there waiting to download it. Luckily, I have really good internet, download it fast. But I'm still like, come on, man, like noon. Like we're doing noon. I took the day off. Like I could have worked a half day and played this game. But yeah, so I played. I think at this point I'm about to hit 6 hours, so that's a decent amount in less than a day. You know what I mean? Like I put my time in. Granted, about an hour of it was in character creator. I spent a decent amount of time in there.
Honestly, that's about the same time as me. I can't resist.
To be fair, I went through a character, almost completed it, then restarted. So maybe like 30 minutes for each. I started as a male. Halfway through, I was like, "Why am I doing this?" and went back to female. I don't know why I even had the male, but
it's because behind, huh?
No, I wanted to listen to Erika Ishii because she's the voice actress. Yeah. And I was like, I didn't even think about that because I'm like, oh, well, Ghost of Yotai next year. I've never played a game with her in it other than Apex Legends, and she's Valkyrie, and I don't ever play that character. So I'm like, I want to see how she is as like a warm up to Ghost of Yotai. I was like, I'll have this.
Have you reminded me she's Valkyrie? I have lost all my hype for Ghost of Yotai.
So she's like
that character.
She's and she was in this game, and like I looked at the male voice because for me, I don't know how you pick. When you give me voice actor options, I'm like so perfectionist where I'm like, I have to pick the best voice. If I don't pick the best voice, I feel like I did a disservice to myself. I know that's dumb, whatever. Just pick the voice you like. And I don't even know if she is the best voice actress here. Again, this was just a situation where I wanted to. I've never played a game with her as a lead, so I was like, I'm gonna play with her. So I went back from the male that I was doing and then did her anyways.
No, that's interesting because like whenever it comes to like voices, I just choose whatever the deepest is. I'm like, ooh, this guy sounds cool. So like you're like over here perfectioning, like, oh
yeah, I try
perfect pitch, and I'm like, ooh, voice 3.
Yeah, I definitely try. And to be fair, there is an option in this game where you can no matter whose voice you have, you can pick a low or high pitch.
Oh, nice.
Which is pretty nice. So like you can have you have a little bit of scale no matter the voice you have.
Can you play other than a human?
Yeah, you have human. You have 4 races. There's human, elf, dwarf, and Canary or something like that. I don't know
the horned
guys. Yeah, the horn. Yes. Like I don't know exactly what they're called, but those. So those are the 4 you have, and then you have 3 classes you can pick from, which is rogue, which is what I went, warrior, and mage. So like those are your basic classes, and then you can make a background for your character, where they're from. Like I want to say 7 factions, maybe 6. I picked the factions called the Inari Crows or something. I don't know if that's that word, but like my background was like an assassin basically. So I'm like a rogue assassin is my class. But yeah, character creator, very in depth. I usually don't spend that much time in character creators, but this one's really good. A lot of hairstyles. You can literally change everything from your nose. Like you go into your nose, and then there's like 14 other options, which was a little overwhelming because I'm like, I don't need that many options for my nose. Like the width, the length, everything. You do it for your ears, your eyebrows, your eyes. You can put scars, tattoos, body paint, face paint. They have it all. Like it's a really good character creator.
Yeah.
So I'm sure people spend hours and hours into that, more than I did, which I already felt like I spent a lot. The game itself.
Yeah, now to get to the video game.
Now to get to the game. My Dragon Age background is I literally have tried the last 3 Dragon Ages about 5 to 10 hours each. I mean, every single one from
this shit
Origins
is so
to 2
fast.
to Inquisition, and I cannot. None of them have clicked with me. And I never planned on going back to the Dragon Age games because I've always said I'll do it whenever they do a Mass Effect type thing, which I know the games don't all intertwine like Mass Effect, so they're probably never going to do the bundle, and like they don't have to. But that was always my mindset before Veilguard showed up, and I was like, this actually looks really interesting. Even though I don't need to play these games, I'll go back and give them a try. I've given them all a shot. I have fallen off of all of them. So
5 to 10 hours is enough.
Yeah. So I was kind of scared at some point because I'm like, okay, well, I've tried 3 Dragon Ages at this point. If this one doesn't click, I'm sorry. Like maybe I just hate them. Maybe I just hate the franchise. But I'm happy to say 6 hours into this one, I'm very much enjoying it. Again, I'm still surface level because it's a 50-hour RPG. 6 hours isn't a lot when you get a 50-hour game. But visually and performance-wise, I'm just shocked at how good it runs, where we're in an age where PC ports are like atrocious 9 times out of 10 in modern gaming. This is like perfect. I'm getting insane.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it looks real pretty. That's one thing. Like I watched Skill Up's review. Shout out Skill Up, and he's like, I hate the art style. And I'm like, I don't understand how. I think the art style is like insanely pretty. Like it looks really good to me.
I think it fits more with the environments of the game rather than the maybe the characters and whatnot. Because I will say, like, I think environmentally the game is absolutely gorgeous, but then I look at some of the characters and I'm like, no, it's just personal appeal in my eyes, though.
The people I've been making fun, they think the character heads are too big. Like they're like, the character heads are too big. I haven't really noticed it, but I have seen people on like Twitter be like, these heads are like too big for these characters' bodies. But like, I'm happy you know the environments. The environments, I'm already 6 hours in, and I've seen some insane environments. Like the environments are like stunning, and they look really good. And there's a bunch of there's just a bunch of variety already in a 6-hour game, which I love. I think combat right up my alley. It's kind of like more games need to do kind of like the Rebirth and remake Final Fantasy thing, where it's like you bring up your companion wheels, it freezes time, and you can have them do whatever ability you want. I love the mesh of, hey, this is an action RPG where you can hack and slash, but you can also stop time and use your abilities, because it just feels so natural to be like, hey, I have this ability now, I'm going to chain it with my companion's ability, and because I'm using this ability with their ability, it creates a big explosion or something. Like they do a fantastic job at that. Where like, I wasn't sure if the combat was going to be like my thing, but now that I'm into it, it does remind you of the Mass Effect days, where like back in the day, Mass Effect, you would bring up your companion's wheels, you would have Liara, best companion, by the way.
Oh, come on, Garrus and Tali.
Yeah,
I mean, I respect Liara though. At least he didn't say like Jack. I'd be like, okay.
No. I love Garrus, but like, yeah, you would have them use their abilities, and then you use your abilities, and it's just like it just felt so good. It's the exact same style of that Mass Effect, just more modern, a lot crunchier, a lot more responsive. So from a combat perspective, loving it. Story-wise, again, you can't say a lot about a story when you're only 6 hours in.
But of course,
to a gigantic game. But story-wise, it's still surface level right now, but I'm liking what I'm seeing. I'm interested. And the companions I have met, because there's a lot, I've only met a few at this point, they're interesting. I'm into what they're saying. They do the Mass Effect thing. Sorry, I'm going to bring up Mass Effect a lot, but it's BioWare, and they've obviously said they want to go back to, like, the Mass Effect team worked on this Dragon Age. Like, they've said it, so you're going to see a lot of Mass Effect crossover, but it's like the thing where you have the lighthouse, which is your main hub, which is like the Normandy. So you go out and do a mission, you come back, and then you're now just chatting to everyone. Like people have, you go and you
Oh,
talk and you
okay.
get more dialogue, and it's like that type of style where you go do your quest, you go do your thing, you learn about the story progresses, you come back, now you meet everyone around your home base, and you talk to them, and you get more info, and your relationships go up, and you get disproved or approved, and like it's very much that old school BioWare RPG loop so far. The 6 hours in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of like anything I'm like hating so far, and genuinely I can't think of anything where I'm like this is really annoying. I think
Is the lore doing any, like the world building? Is like anything about that like really grabbing you?
yeah, I'm actually there's a lot of reading. Like it gives you like an entire codex off the rip, and it gives you like a bunch of unlocked things that you can read about the world that I've been going through and doing. I
Mm-hmm.
will say it's cool that in your character creator you can also create quote unquote your Inquisition from Dragon Age Inquisition. So you can create a second
Okay.
character that you don't play as, but you basically are molding the story of
The
Inquisition.
Inquisitor.
Yes, the Inquisitor. So you're molding, saying what did this past character do? How did that world end, and how did that game end?
Yeah, I heard
And
a
you can,
complaint that there wasn't a lot there. Could you
yeah,
like
it wasn't
elaborate?
like from someone who again hasn't ran through all of Inquisition. I don't know what all they missed out, but it is very much just like you could pick your love interest that character had. You can pick what faction they were in, what their background was, and how the
Mm-hmm.
game ended.
Oh, okay.
So it's like I feel like it's enough for the hardcore fans to be like, hey, at least they added this, and you can actually edit the character for some reason. You can go in there and do the exact same thing as your main protagonist in this game, all those same in-depth features as for your Inquisitor. So you could literally make the same
Okay.
dude you made 10 years ago, which I saw. Gosh, I forget who made the article, but there was a good article where some dude said he's 40 now, and he said it made him emotional to think 10 years ago he was making the character he made 10 years ago, and he's talking about how like life has
Cool.
changed in the past 10 years and all this. But I'm sure there's some hardcore fans they would have liked it a lot more. But as someone who again didn't play through that whole game, it was still nice to be like, hey, let me set some background to the current world that I'm playing in,
Of
which
course.
I've never seen in a game before.
That's right. Yeah, no, I mean, like that sounds very much like kind of how they would maybe try to go for Mass Effect nowadays because it's a
Yes,
lot harder to transfer that save data,
like
obviously.
I think I would love if they could transfer the Mass Effect save data, but if they can't, which seems more likely, this would be a perfect example of hey, let's do. You can go across the Mass Effect worlds and tell us what your canon is. I guess you know. I mean, if they don't go a different route, like it would be really cool if they did that with Mass Effect. Which now that you bring it up, I assume they would. Like that seems like perfect scenario here. But
Yeah.
yeah, so combat. I think at this moment I don't have like crazy cons. Whenever I do beat the game, I'll come back in the podcast that week and like give my overarching thoughts. But like so far, so far so good. I'm genuinely really
Good.
enjoying it. Again, it's really pretty. I'm liking like the pacing isn't anything incredible so far, but I'm liking the pacing of hey, like I said, you go out in the world, you're doing this quest. It still hasn't opened up a lot to me, but it's not an open world game, but it's still much of a hey, go do this quest, come back, do this quest, come back to your home base. That type of style, which I hear opens up after like 10 hours or so. So I'm still in that loop. But to me, it's just like I'm liking the companions they've given me so far. I still have to unlock like more than 60% of other companions, so I still have a lot of people to meet. I'm really excited to continue my journey at the very least.
Ooh, that's a raw way to end it. Continue my journey. No,
But
I mean, go ahead. Go ahead.
I don't know bring like all the woke stuff into it, but
Okay, I mean, go for it.
I can't stand to I would hope mainline outlets don't care, and I'm not saying like oh this is an 82 because there's probably some outlets out there that were like oh 2 out of 5 woke because I doubt that happens, but like
Yeah.
it does the 82. Not I'm not saying that's a bad score at all, and I think it's even an 84 on Metacritic. It's a little higher, but like it's just weird to see such a. This is the most maybe divisive game we've seen in a while, and it's just funny that it's Bioware who like gets the treatment because I feel like Bioware's. You wanted the moment where you could say either Bioware's back or Bioware's dead, and we're just somewhere in the middle where like Bioware's just surviving. Like they're just like obviously the game's selling really well, but from a critic standpoint, you're having the people like kind of funny talk about, hey, they think Bioware's back. Andy said those words, or Greg was really high on it. But then you have people like Skillup, who's like didn't like anything about the game, what it sounded like when I was watching it. So it's just very funny that this game is definitely in the middle of. It might not be. It's probably not getting nominated at the Game of the Years or later this year, but it's gonna be people's Game of the Years.
I think you'd be surprised. I think it would actually get nominated.
You think so? I hope so.
I think the critics who really love BioWare are the people who, like, I think Inquisition won Game of the Year in 2014, and that was one of the weirdest decisions ever. And people were surprised by it. Not because of the quality of the game, but it's just the fact that it very much was like the crowd that loves BioWare RPGs more than anything are very much the people who are working like in the game journalists and critical space. So I think they're at the very least nominated. But if it beats Astrobot, oh man, Fusion, I'm gonna beef with you.
I could tell you there's probably no chance. But I will say, okay, we'll bring up one con because you brought up BioWare and it made me think of the. So far, it seems like a lot. Like you obviously know, back in Mass Effect, there was Paragon and then Renegade, and like the Renegade was like, oh, you're the bad guy. It definitely seems like more so this. The options here is they want you to be the good guy. Like it's very much of a. There's renegade quote unquote options where you're like mean, but you're never like renegade mean. Like Shepard back in the day used to be like
punching a reporter.
Yes, like he used to just go like he was extremely evil renegade. Where this game it feels like there's been a few times I click the bad option and my character makes like a jokingly like not jokingly but like mean but not mean enough.
Me?
Yeah, like mean but not mean enough. Where if it was like the renegade option in Mass Effect, they would go in, which is fine. This seems like a more lighthearted RPG, which I guess you take that as you will. Like if you could be really into it or really out of it, but like to me, it seemed more lighthearted than like a Witcher or something of that aspect, where it's like super dark and gritty, which I know people were upset about because. As far as I know, the other Dragon Ages were pretty dark, but they also had comedic relief in it. So I don't know what Dragon Age fans want anymore, to be honest.
The Dragon Age fan base, they are a fickle breed. I will say, the Dragon Age fan base, I swear to God, I've never met a Dragon Age fan who isn't a bigger fan of Mass Effect. So it's like, that just tells you the quality of the franchise in my eyes.
Literally about to say, I was thinking, I'm like, I feel like Dragon Age fans just want to like Dragon Age more so than Mass Effect because they want to be different. They're just like, nah, dude, Dragon Age is the cooler game. It's like, it's not. Come on.
Come on, guys. I'm sorry. Here's the thing. That should say a lot for me. I love fantasy substantially more than sci-fi. I do not like sci-fi. And the fact that even I could say it's like Mass Effect is way cooler than Dragon Age, that just says a lot. Okay? That just says both the quality of Mass Effect and also just like, at least from a looking glass standpoint of what Dragon Age looks like. It's just, personally, nothing about Dragon Age appeals to me, but I'm glad people are really enjoying it.
It feels really, really good to be playing a modern BioWare game again.
Oh yeah,
I would say that. Like it feel. I mean, like when was Anthem 2019? 2019 the game.
Yeah, day one, baby.
Okay. So like, yeah. So it's been 5 years since that, and then like again, even longer for a straight up single player game. So it's because like it feels really good to be back in like the BioWare. It's still BioWare through and through. Like it's definitely a BioWare game, and you can feel it. It just feels more modern. More combat feels more responsive, more crunchy. This is probably I wouldn't be shocked if this is the best combat they've ever made.
Oh. Yeah,
so like,
I mean, that wouldn't say a lot.
Yes,
though.
I'm not saying they had a high line.
Mass Effect's combat is like good for what it is, but it's not what you're playing.
And Dragon Age combat sucks before this. I'm sorry. And like Inquisition, even for a 2014 game, that combat is ass.
Dragon Age Origins, it's like a CRPG. Nobody likes playing CRPGs. People like the stories and the dialogue of CRPGs. I have never heard a CRPG fan go, wow, this combat though. No. Like Baldur's Gate 3 is like the one example.
I know you're not interested in this game at all, but I hope like 8 months from now this game is $20 and you pick it up because I think you would really like the combat. I mean, you can parry, there's a dodge.
It's like I want to be interested so badly. But there's just nothing for me personally, and there's so much I want to get to in just this year alone, and especially the backlog. I don't know, maybe I check it out eventually and like see if it's for me. The thing is though, the way I am, I gotta play the older ones first. That's just how I am.
You're gonna try to play them, and you're like, wow.
Yeah, really, exactly.
That was exactly what I did. I was like, I have to because I'm the exact same way. I'm like, I'm gonna play. I have to play the older ones. I try. At least I tried. You know, I tried to.
Exactly, you try. That's the thing. At the very least, if you try, and I want to at least try them, So that's a lot of shit. But it's Dragon Age is lower on the franchises I want to get to. Is kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's fair. That is completely fair.
We talked a lot about Dragon Age. We still got a couple more reviews, and obviously everything else that we've been playing. We're gonna speed through it. It's a bit of a longer cast today. Considering there's only two of us. Fusion, you're a talker. I like it. I like it a lot.
Know. It's hilarious that the longest episodes are always the ones I'm on every time.
So. You were Bob. Dude, we were I asked Bob, he wasn't able to make it. It's like, man, imagine if Bob was here too. This shit would be 4 hours.
Yes, it would have been it shouldn't possibly go this long, but it always does, and it's fun. So
yeah, I mean, it's hey, listen, I got nothing else better to do today. I enjoy doing this. Life is Strange Double Exposure. You were mentioning this game earlier, Fusion. I was shocked by this. 71 on OpenCritic, substantially lower than my expectation. Now, again, this is a game I have actually even less interested in Dragon Age. This is not my type of game at all. But I was pretty much expecting the Life is Strange fans to really be into this. Some were. IGN gave it a 9, which they also gave Dragon Age a 9. Now IGN gives games too many 9s. That's the new narrative going around. Just thinking about that. But GameRant gave it a 5 out of 10. Eurogamer a 3 out of 5. PC Gamer 72. And then I saw a lot of 2s, even 2 out of 5s, and I'm like, what happened here? I'm curious, Fusion. You're the Life is Strange fan. You love this franchise. At least I know you like True Colors. I don't know about the others. How are you feeling about these reviews?
This is the first time in a while that I was actually disappointed with the reviews. Where I was because you said, I don't expect some crazy reviews for this game, but I thought it was at least gonna hit 82 or something, somewhere around there. That's what Life is Strange usually does. They're somewhere around the 80s or maybe high 70s. And like I said, I love True Colors. Life is Strange 2, my least favorite, fine. And then the original Life is Strange, I like a lot. So it's weird to see. In the previews, I felt we're so glowing for this. So it makes me believe that the second half of the game fails, or maybe not fails, but the second half of the game isn't as strong as the first, and that scares me. Because I love Life is Strange. And these are the type of games where if it reviews poorly, or if it's lower on a review, it's purely straight from a writing perspective, because that's all this game is doing for you, is telling a story.
Yeah, no one's out there that's man, the grabbing items just doesn't feel as good.
No one's out there critiquing the gameplay or anything else except the characters and the story being told, which is why you played Life is Strange, obviously. So it worries me a little bit when you see the 2 out of 5s, or I think I saw the 5 out of 10, from GameRant. I'm dude, a 5 out of 10? I haven't seen that in a while. So it's but you see the IGN 9 out of 10s. So it's a very weird stretch of maybe it's going to be that story that you're either completely in or completely out, which is fine. And hopefully when I get around to it, I'm completely in. But it was a little disappointing to see, hey, this game really, and it was even crazy. This went up. It started in the 60s. I think when it first came out, it was a 68 on OpenCritic or something. And I was dang, dude, that's just I'm not one to be hey, reviews are end all be all. I've been very open about that on here. I'm not gonna, but yeah, they're you never want a game you're super excited about to start in the 60s. We can be honest there. We're not oh, that's a good thing. You know what I mean? Because
who cares? It's I don't know. That just seems a bit wrong.
So hopefully, again, I'll get to it, and hopefully a few weeks. I still plan on getting it. I think this will be more of a maybe Black Friday pickup.
It's for Game Pass, ain't it?
No, I don't think so. I did not think so.
Certain. I remember.
If it's on Game Pass, that
was at the Xbox show. Hang on. That's a little again. This is just. I'm not gonna try to be an ass about it. This is just not my type of thing at all. But I don't know if the game is on Game Pass. If I just haven't really seen much. It is on Game Pass day one. Wait, no. Wait, is it?
I would say I didn't think it was.
Oh, the first thing was a Reddit thread. God bless them. Oh, hang on. Sportskeeda has an article about it. There is no information from the developers that it will be available on Game Pass. Okay. I think I just assumed because it was at the Xbox showcase.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I would say it would be nice if it was on Game Pass, but no, it's not. And it makes me a little more because Deck 9, which is the devs behind this one, are the devs that was on True Colors, which is again is my favorite Life is Strange. Not even close. I like all the Life is Strange games somewhat, but True Colors is the one that's the one that always sticks with me, and that one's a top 50-ish game for me of all time. So like, I was like, oh, it's Deck 9, they're back again, and
There was
it
some
just
weird
seems like
stuff.
it's a miss maybe.
There was some weird stuff that was reported on earlier this year regarding Deck 9. Stuff about Nazis. I know that's the craziest fucking statement ever. That's just what I'm remembering. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do kind of remember. There was some like end team. There definitely was some behind the scenes issues with Deck 9 we read about earlier. I know that for sure.
Yeah, that may have affected development of this game, or maybe not. Who knows? It is that thing of like going back to the character from the first game. Maybe the studio isn't as comfortable, not comfortable, but like familiar with the character to really make it work.
I will say, like, just reading just the Open Critic always does like, here's a quick summary of people's reviews. It does seem like it's a lot of it wasn't the sequel the game needed. Seeing a lot of like, it's like we didn't need Max Caulfield back, or like, what did we really need a sequel to the first game? Which I would agree with. I didn't like Max that much. I didn't ever think we needed a game to sequelize the first game. I like that. Like, I would have 100% of 100 times preferred a True Color sequel, but also at the end of the day, I would have just preferred a new Life is Strange with no ties to anything else. I like that Life is Strange at this point has always been like, hey, these are new characters every time.
Yeah, 100%. No, I'm with you there. But I mean, I'm with you. Like what you're saying. I don't.
You would like to be with me, but you don't know.
Well, yeah, no. I mean, I assume I know what I'm decent
sense.
about. Again, like that's my thing. Is like I at least want to try to like commentate on a game, even if I don't have interest on it. I'm curious about like industry wise how it's going to do like for Deck 9 moving forward. If they're going to stick as the developer, especially sales wise. I don't know what these games usually do sales wise. If they're like the million sales, it's like, oh, million sales, that's more than enough to recoup the budget, which I assume. I mean, looking at it budget wise. So yeah, I think it'll do fine enough. I heard it specifically the ending is the thing that a lot of people are like, ooh.
Yeah, last thing, because again, it's things where it's like when you're a game that's purely narrative,
ending is important.
And it's just like this review right here, Metro Game 6, despite a fantastic soundtrack and interesting characters, the game's lack of player choice and clunky writing fails to live up to the series, and it's a 4 out of 10. Even though you have a great soundtrack and interesting characters, you can't give it anything higher than a 4 out of 10 when your writing's bad because you don't care about the gameplay. When you're a game that has gameplay and the narrative's there, if the narrative's not that great and you have awesome gameplay, you're going to land around like a 7 or something. You know what I mean? Something low. But when you have no gameplay to critique, you have to come in as your review a little lower where you're like, oh, this is a 4. Like, I've seen 6 4 out of 10s on this list on OpenCritic. And it's like, I feel like if the game wasn't just a narrative-based choice game, you would never go as far as down as a 4 unless the gameplay of your game obviously sucked.
Maybe for the next Life is Strange, they should have like Sekiro combat. It's like, oh, no, it's a 7. Like what?
You have to make your choices, and you can only make the correct choice if you parry.
Yeah. It's like, oh man, you gotta fight the Shinobi Warlord before you can continue and get a soda from this machine. Like
perfect,
what?
Like you have the perfect parries for the good choice.
Perfect parry, and then if you fuck up, you get the bad choice. Hang on, wait, hire us. I think that's
cool.
Might
be cooking, dude. Get us in the studio.
Moving on to our last one, very quick. Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered came out same day as Dragon Age. 85 on OpenCritic, a lot of 8s and 9s. You know, just like seems like very much a good remaster, all things considered. I do want to kind of bring this up. Nixxes Fusion, I think these might be like arguably one of the best studio purchases from Sony because they've been cooking like very fast, like 8 different releases, I think, if I'm correct, of like different PC ports and obviously now remasters with the Horizon Zero Dawn remaster. Obviously, I have a lot of personal beef with this game of its existence, but I can't deny that it is overall a good remaster and people are very satisfied. And that Nixxes is a very high quality studio within Sony.
And we know that they've been on record saying they have even bigger remasters coming. Nixxes have said that themselves, that they have even more remasters coming. So we'll see what those are. But
Killzone, Infamous. Continue.
Hopefully. My thing with remasters, I know maybe it's a me issue. Remaster, like, reviews are so interesting to me because they're always lower than the original game. And I never know. Like, if you're just basing the game off of if you're rating this without the remaster in question, like the budget and all that, whatever, all the outside noise, a remaster / remake should almost always score higher than the original. Because now it looks better, it runs better, plays better. across the board, it's just a better product. So it's always funny to me where it's like, oh, Horizon Zero Dawn got an 89 in 2017. This remaster got an 85, which obviously great score, but it's just hilarious that like same thing happened with Last of Us. Same thing happened with and just any remaster out there. I feel like comes out and it's always scored lower, and I think it's because reviewers sit there and they're like, well, we didn't need this, so this means it's not a like your game could be a 10 out of 10. They could remaster Elden Ring, and I still feel like they would put it could be a better product, like
a 9.
Yeah, quality of life, and they would genuinely give it a 9 or 8 because they said we don't need it. And yes, I understand we don't need it, but from a critical standpoint of just rating the video game itself, it always feels weird that they bring outside noise into the review. And maybe I'm alone in that, but it's always felt weird to me.
It's a very interesting insight. I feel like it really just comes down to the fact that you get a lot more reviewers reviewing the game, like different reviewers and whatnot. So that's one thing. But also, I think it's just this weird thing, like internally, like, well, we can't give it a higher score than the original. That doesn't feel right. And like, it's a silly mindset, maybe, but like, how would it look if Zero Dawn Remastered was higher than original Zero Dawn on like OpenCritic? Does that feel weird to you, or is that just like, oh, it should be that way?
That's how I think it should be. I feel like the remastered will be because to me a remaster or remake is the definite version to play that video game. You know what I mean? That is the version that like if you told someone today, hey, which part remaster or original, which one should I play? You would tell them the remaster almost 10 out of 10 times.
100%.
Because it was just a better product. So I feel like on a review scale, when you go on OpenCritic, you should see that being better. And so just like this year, Last of Us Part 2, the remake, I think it's a remaster, what they call it, is a 92. That original is a 95. And it's like the remaster even added secret levels and had the Left Behind mode. It's like you added more content to this game that was already 10 out of 10s, and now it's lower. That doesn't make sense to me.
100%, yeah. It's definitely a weird thing reviews-wise. Of course, these things aren't like set in stone, but it's just an interesting observation, like you said. Moving into what we've been playing. Now, you talked all about Dragon Age earlier. Fusion, you did play Silent Hill 2 earlier this month. I want to get your quick thoughts on that. I finished it. Guess what? I still fucking love that game. This is going to sound so weird coming from me.
10 out of 10, dude.
The original's a 10 out of 10. I'm one of those guys. I still like the original more, but that's just a personal thing. I think you're going to find this wild from me, knowing me. I do not really play Silent Hill for the gameplay at all. Like, that's not why I care about Silent Hill 2, especially. I care about that story, specifically the ending. The Leave ending makes me cry every single time I watch it. It's the way they do it in this remake is I don't like it as much personally. I think it hits a bit harder in the original, but it's just one of those things of like, you're never going to please everyone with a remake. And that's kind of my thing I wanted to bring up is that there was this not weird, but like argument, like conversation going around about like the way that remakes should be perceived. And I always see remakes not as a replacement, but kind of like an extra version of that game. It's like, I don't think of a Resident Evil 2 remake. Oh, this completely replaces the original. It's just, hey, it's Resident Evil 2 in a different style. It's a cake made by a different chef, but it still has all the same ingredients. It's like, yeah, it's going to taste different, but it tastes different and it's still really good. That's kind of my viewpoint on like how remakes should be perceived. And that's exactly what Silent Hill 2 remake is for me, where there's some aspects of it. I think it's substantially more bloated than the original game. I think that the third person like action combat isn't necessarily what makes it the original special, and it didn't really do much for the remake here. But that's fine because I really like a lot of the new things they added. They added a lot of new like horror aspects that really freaked me out. Like there's a room in one of the first areas, like the apartments, where you just walk in and there's just some guy whispering in your ear and it's fucking freaky as shit. I don't know if you remember that.
I do.
It scared the shit out of me. But like all the horror is still there. That story still personally really affects me. I think it's one of those stories that like it affects people in different ways. It's something about the ending. I just feel like I relate to it a bit more than I guess a lot of people do. And it hit me personally a lot harder. And obviously I'm not going to get to his spoilers, but I think that game does do so much that's very special. That's very like immaculately. I think it deserves to be as highly rated as it is. But I do understand why some people maybe don't reach out to it the same way they do for like just a classic fun B-movie horror like experience like Resident Evil 2 remake. But I'm very curious to hear your thoughts on it, Fusion. I know, obviously you're lower than me, I know, but like I'm interested in what you think.
Yeah, I completely, you're justified on everything you're saying. And to be fair, my lower is like I gave this game an 8, so like it's still a great game.
You
Like
hate
I still
it.
fantastically love this video game. It's because I said we had this conversation before off the pod where it's just like the story is really good, but it's like it's not a story where like I prefer, for example, the Alan Wake 2 story a lot more, or like
Hmm.
the Resident Evil 2 story a lot more compared to
Okay,
this. So
well,
it's like,
okay.
well, no, that's probably not true. I just enjoyed Resident Evil 2's gameplay a lot better than Silent Hill.
Yeah, that's fair.
But
That's fair.
story, no, I would not say that. But so like, I still think it's a great horror game. I think I don't know. Again, I've never played the original, so I am someone who just came into this completely had no spoilers, never been spoiled for this game. I feel like I don't know why you would ever be spoiled for this game because no one ever talks about Silent Hill really until the remake came back out.
Okay, let's calm down. You're pushing it in now.
But yeah, so it was nice to go and have no spoilers. They had awesome moments. The game was scary at points. I expected it to be a little scarier. I don't know if that's just like maybe because I've heard how scary Silent Hill 2 the original is.
It depends on how much more like psychological, or like if
Yeah.
you're very imaginative and you think a lot of bad things, maybe that would be affecting more. Because like I get scared by my imagination more than
Yeah, I
anything
would
else.
say because the scariest things to me are like that point where you said that room in the apartment where you're hearing the voices, or there was one time in one room where like I went in, shut the door, and I was like reading some note, and then you can hear someone banging on the door that you just entered.
Yes.
But no one's there. I'm like, nah, I can't do that. I'm like,
Uh,
nah, let's take a step back. I don't like those things scare me. And I wish they used it more. Maybe like not too much, because obviously then it's just a gimmick at that point. But I feel like
yeah.
they only use those moments like 2 or 3 times. And when it's a 16, 17-hour game, you could have used
It's
it at
too
least,
long.
you know what I mean? Like it could have used it a little bit more where I think I wanted to be more scared of the enemies, and none of the enemies scared me. Not one bit. The mannequins at first, when they're like just hiding under things and like hiding around the corner, a little spooky. But the fact that I could just beat everything down with my pipe, like at some point, I just stopped being scared. But from a story perspective, it was awesome.
I think no, enemies are a perfect thing to like jump onto because it's like, I mean, Pyramid Head scared you, right?
Yes, especially the first time when I'm like just staring at him and I'm like, I don't want to deal with that.
Yeah, he's terrifying. But I think really it comes down to like they really hammer down the symbolism aspect, and you watched all the videos about it, like what all those enemies represent. I think really just comes down to the problem of variety. Really brings down the game's like enemy design and gameplay wise, because it's like, oh, it's just the legs again, the mannequin.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm used to fighting.
And didn't they? Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't they add one more variety type in this remake?
I guess technically it's less that they added a new one, but they kind of like added a modified version. Because you know when you go into the other thing, the other world, that doesn't mean anything. It basically they kind of add new enemies there. I think those are new. I don't remember.
Okay. And okay, that makes sense. Because to your point, like it is kind of the variety thing, which is a little silly because most horror games don't have crazy variety. It's not like Alan Wake 2 didn't have like a crazy variety, but it just felt like for some reason
it's not as much of an issue when the original game because it's a 9-hour game. But here it's way more pronounced because it's like 16.
This game is very long for a horror game, which is funny because again, I'm gonna keep bringing up Alan Wake 2. I'm sorry, that's just my personal favorite horror game.
It's okay.
And that's like 20 hours. That's a very long. But that is Alan Wake 2 is obviously a horror game, but that's also like a detective.
Yeah, I don't really think of it as much of a horror game.
Yes, that's a weird like control universe. Like it's a all of thing where it's like I guess I compare Silent Hill 2 pacing compared to like a Dead Space remake pacing, where I thought Dead Space was like the perfect length, and I wish that was more like the Silent Hill 2, because I think Silent Hill 2 dragged just a little, and it was like by the end of the game, I didn't want it to be over, but I wasn't like sad that it was over type thing. I'm like, oh, this could have ended 3 hours ago, but I'm still going.
It was that feeling when I was near the end. I was like, I wanted it to be over because I wanted to play a different game. So I was like, because I was playing this for a month. I'm like, oh my god, I just want to play something new. Like I'm playing like Spyro on the side to like keep my brain like okay. This is fucking me up. But
it's a great game. I will put that out there. It is a fantastic game. I'm very happy that again, I've always been someone who I don't hate remakes or remasters because this gives me the opportunity to play a cult classic that I've heard about for years. I've heard about how good Silent Hill 2 is, and I know the fan base was like, so like they were, even you thought this game was going to be bad for the longest time,
Oh
and
yeah,
then
buddy. I
Bloober
was
Team
very
came
happy.
out and they're like, no, we can make some games with sauce, and it's like, this is what I love about the remakes when it's like you give me these type of remakes where it's like I would have never played this game ever beforehand. I would have never went back to the original. That's not I'm not that type of gamer that would go back to 20-year-old games. I'm just not. So the fact that I was given the opportunity to play and experience the story, and for the most part, as far as I know, the beats are the exact same. I'm sure they changed a little bit of things, but like I got to experience it in the same way you did when you were younger with the OG, and that's just
Younger,
really
2
cool.
years old ago, but still, yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I get exactly what you mean. I mean, story wise, they didn't really change anything except just like little things here and there, and they added a couple of new endings. I haven't checked them out yet, but
I've seen some of them. They're silly.
oh yeah, for sure. I mean, did you watch the obvious one that everyone knows? I can't.
Yes.
It's so fucking funny. It is the funniest thing because I love the moment when James just falls down to his knees when he realizes like, oh no.
And and I have a take, but I don't know if I can say it on air because you'll hate me for it, and we can have the
Tell me
argument.
after the podcast. You're gonna hate me. I'll hate you afterwards.
You will.
Because that fucking ending. I love that ending so much. The leave ending.
Yeah.
Um.
And which is the ending I got, which is what that was the ending I got naturally. Like so.
Okay, good. Because some of the other ones, I'm like, oh my god. I really hope like some people don't experience that ending because
I will
that
promise you
ending.
right now, Binks will get one of those endings. I can
Oh
just.
really?
I don't think that dude's ever got a good ending ever. So,
Yeah, but Silent Hill 2, very excited. Do you think it's just not like obviously you don't nominate remakes? Do you think this gets nominated at TGAs?
I don't think so,
I think
but
it's just not big enough. I'd say
yes, I would. Yeah, I would think. I would think it's too. I think
niche.
to me, horror games like they have to be that Resident Evil 4 remake or like they have to. To me, it's always like if you're not a 90 plus in a horror game, I don't expect to see
Hmm.
you up there.
Yeah, it's just the fan base isn't big enough for Silent Hill. Even though a lot of Silent Hill fans act like it's like, oh, it's just as big as Resident Evil. No,
No, not even close.
dude, most of the games like it literally was a franchise that every new entry sold less than the last. Like it was not a thing. I wish it was because they're incredible, but come on. And then I just want to bring up Astrobot, the new speedrunning levels. Fusion, you've been slacking. What's going
I
on?
haven't played this recent level. I haven't.
I will say this new one that just came out is
Actually,
probably
Dave, I didn't play the second one.
yeah, it's my least favorite, the new one
Okay.
with the frogs, because it's the frog thing, and I'm just like, this doesn't work as well for a speed run. The
Wait,
second level I really liked.
the frog ability is the one with you use the tongue.
No, the frog one's. Oh yeah, you use the tongue.
Yeah.
It's like
Okay.
the fists.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
yeah, I mean the level is so great, but I will say the cameo bot for this level, I was like, man, I don't care about this guy, but that's just a personal me thing. But yeah, Astrobot still awesome. Still gonna be game of the year, right? No chance anything dethrones it.
But for us, yes. I'm
Okay.
the only concern. The only concern for Keeley's I still think is Rebirth.
I mean, do you think metaphor, maybe?
I see the metaphor is so weird to me because every time I know again critic scores on everything, but every time I check that game, it gets like the review score goes lower. I think it's down to like a 91 now. Still incredible. I mean,
92
no.
right now.
Okay, still obviously still incredible, but in my head, I'm like, if they're going to pick between metaphor and Rebirth, it's going to be Rebirth.
I just think it would be really cool if they chose Astrobot over all three of those, though. Come on. That'd be
Oh,
just
I
like
think.
people would be
Oh,
so happy.
my thing is like no one like the thing Astrobot has going for it. No one hates Astrobot. There's not a
Yep,
single person on this planet
100%.
hates Astrobot. Where it's like you're gonna have Rebirth. It's that same thing with the narrative stuff. There's certain people who are like, I didn't like the Rebirth narrative, and there's some
Yeah.
people with Metaphor who I would assume didn't like the Metaphor narrative. There's no narrative in Astrobot. You're just there having a good time.
Hey, you say there's no narrative at the ending, though. That was basically
Okay,
all the
true.
narrative you needed,
And
and
that was
nobody hated it.
better than all of Rebirth. To be
Hey,
honest.
you said it, not me. You said it, not me. And then finally, Fusion, you just want to talk real quick about Black Ops 6. You played a bit.
Yeah, a bit an understatement. I haven't touched the campaign. Have not touched the campaign. So these are all
Okay.
like I've played zombies once, and our games crashed at round 16. I haven't touched that since.
Oh my god, I would never play zombies again after that.
Well, that we weren't expecting to get far. We're just like, oh, let's just test this mode out because multiplayer servers weren't working for a day. So we're like, we'll just play zombies. Anyways, yeah, I've put about, gonna sound sad, probably 20 plus hours into the multiplayer already. A decent amount.
It's not that crazy. 20 hours.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, like, I guess knowing your schedule though, so like that is actually quite a bit.
Yeah. So like I've put, and I'm liking the multiplayer a lot. It is
because you had that during football weekend. You had football.
Yeah, I wasn't exactly
that's just a lot. Okay,
I wasn't even on Sunday because again I was in Cleveland, so there was not.
Oh, damn.
And then I worked all week, so like there hasn't been time to play. So the fact that I have that much already is testament to like my entire friend group's been playing. We've been having a good time. The only con in this entire game is the maps are ass. Just straight up.
No.
Which is
Why
funny.
Can they never make a good map in Call
I was
of
just
Duty?
praising Treyarch and their maps. This is the first Treyarch game I've ever played. I mean, genuinely ever in my life where I'm like, I don't believe Treyarch made the maps. Like, I genuinely think these were like, there's a rumor going around. This probably has no actual based evidence that we all know that Modern Warfare 2 was supposed to have 2 seasons. I mean, 2 years.
Yeah.
Like, that was a big thing. They were supposed to have 2 years. They're going to skip a year. They didn't. It almost feels like they had maps planned for that second year. That they made them, and then they didn't know what to do with them, so they were just like, let's put them into Black Ops 6. Because these maps are as Modern Warfare, like, think of the Modern Warfare trilogy, like the newest one that came out, and you've played it, so you know, like, all those maps have a very similar vibe.
Played 2019. Like I played a shit ton of 2019 and only the betas for 2 and 3.
Okay, so like think of 2019 maps where like almost every map in the game has very similar vibes. Like they're all like pretty big. They have a lot of like windows and second stories.
Every time you got Piccadilly, you left.
Yes, that's the same vibes you're getting right now with this game. You're getting certain maps where you're like, okay, we're
so bad at making maps. I just don't get it. Like
which
they were
why,
so good back in the day.
Which is why I was praising Sledgehammer earlier in this podcast because the post content of last year's Call of Duty had some of the best maps we've seen in an actual 5 years, like a long time. Mm-hmm. So it's just so weird how like we're already people. Granted, they just added Nuketown today. I haven't had a chance to play it, but that's hype. Nuketown's amazing. So like I'm gonna play Nuketown later tonight, hopefully. But like that's like we need immediately already when season 1 hits in a week. It's like you need to add 2 maps that are fantastic, or you're gonna have a map problem real quick.
Yep. I mean, it just seems like, as per usual, like they cannot figure out how to make a fun multiplayer map.
Dude, I don't get it. I don't understand how Call of Duty has some of the most iconic maps ever. We were naming them earlier.
Just make Hijacked again. Just do that. Like, how is it so hard? Like, I think the problem is that they're so adamant on like, well, it needs to work for ground war and all these other modes, and it needs to be really big. It's like, no, the problem with these maps is that they're too big. Shorten them, make them smaller, so that like we can actually get kills. Because I hate that feeling of dying, and then it's like, okay, I gotta run for like 5 minutes.
Here's 5 minutes before you see your next opponent, and then you die, and it's like, dude. But from a just tight knit Call of Duty, I think the movement is some of the best it's ever been. I think the gunplay is some of the best it's ever been. Everything else feels so good. I mean, like hit markers feel great. The time to kill, awesome. The new Omni movement where you're like sliding all over in place, it's done really well. Again, it just comes down to the maps. I think when we get more maps over the next couple of weeks, especially if they start adding remakes, like give us Hijack or the rumor. It's funny you bring up Firing Range. In the leaked files, Firing Range is one of the maps coming, and also Yemen. I don't know if you remember Yemen from Black Ops 2.
Yemen! I loved Yemen.
And Yemen's awesome. Yeah, so it's like if you add those, like it's gonna be a good time. You know what I mean? So like just keep adding these things, and like I think the rest of the game isn't perfect by any means, but you've seen it. This is the highest rated Call of Duty in years. Like people are really enjoying it, and I think they've done a very good job. They now have to ace the post-launch, but if they ace the post-launch, we'll be in the best year of Call of Duty that I personally think in like 4 to 5 years.
Fusion, I think I'm gonna pick this thing up. Unironically, I'm like very close. I think pick it up though. Game Pass though.
I was just saying Game Pass. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like I'm already getting a month for when Indiana Jones comes out, which by the way, those previews came out. I forgot to add them. Looking pretty interesting. Yeah, it seems to get Dishonored vibes, like kind of Hitman, like really immersive sim, more like. I'm into that.
And I think, again, you can just pick it up on Game Pass. And I've heard by a lot of people this campaign's like fantastic.
Yeah, that's
like, very, very good.
I mean, the campaign, like I heard, it's very open. You can kind of do like it's way more player choice than any other Call of Duty campaign. Which that's the thing. I go into these like expecting 5 to 7 hour fun romp. Like summer blockbuster movie. Like I think of Call of Duty campaigns. You ever watch Olympus Has Fallen?
Yeah, I have.
It's Olympus Has Fallen. It's very much like it's cool. It's cool like seeing terrorists in a White House and like epic gunfights, but it's not like it's like cinema. But this Call of Duty campaign is like, no, we're actually trying to be way more than that, and like as a game, be more of like a game instead of just you're shooting NPCs.
And hopefully I do get around to it, because the campaign's something you could like beat in a day or like even a weekend. You just load it up, play it. Because like,
of course,
I think it was Mike on Kind of Funny where in their review he was talking about like how it gave him like Mission Impossible vibes and like all that stuff. Where like it does seem, I played like Cold War's campaign was more like it had more stealth than you would expect from Call of Duty, and it was more like spy espionage type stuff. And it sounds like it sounds like this built upon that, and I'm like, that's awesome. If like that's what this campaign did.
You do remind me. I do want to play Black Ops Cold War beforehand, though, because
Cold War's campaign is awesome.
Yeah, that's the one that's like I would like to get the story of everything. It's like $20 at GameStop. Oh, that's on Xbox, obviously. That's why it's $20. But yeah, I'm gonna check it out 100%.
You might own it. PlayStation Plus gave it away for free.
I know you're right. Wait, hang on. Let me check my library right now.
I was gonna say you might own it because it definitely was out for free one time. I don't know how long ago that was, but
Cold. Oh wait, I think I have to start from the beginning. Oh, that's my installed. I'm sorry. Real quick, live reaction. Call. Yeah, you're right. I do own it.
I would say, yep, that would make sense.
Okay, interesting. Okay, well, I think that might be what my plan. Play Cold War and then check out Game Pass for 6. I mean, listen, I'm a very lapsed Call of Duty player. I just come in, check in every few years, but I really like Modern Warfare 2019. To your anger, but
my anger, I hate it.
That campaign is awesome, Fusion.
That campaign is awesome. I'll give you every credit. That campaign is fantastic.
Okay, that's all I need to hear. But yeah, no, if we can get like Cold War, everything I hear about, like what I remember playing the beta and I was just so sad. I'm like, God, the maps still suck. That's how I felt the whole
Black
time.
Ops 6?
Cold War.
Oh, Cold War.
Yeah, I haven't played the beta for 6 yet. Well, the game's out. But yeah, I'm gonna check this out. I'm very interested. I feel like it's gonna. Do you think it's just a Soggy's thing? I know you're not the biggest like multiplayer for Game of the Year thing, but like if you played the campaign, would that like even be in your top 10?
I think the campaign could be in my top 10, which feels like it's crazy for a Call of Duty campaign. You know what I mean? But I think if it's as good as other people have told me. I mean, I've been hearing so many good things about this campaign. So if the campaign like actually hits like others are saying, I could 100% see it be like we see it at the Soggy's like top 10 if 3 or 4 of us played it, and it's like, oh, we all gave it like an 8 or something.
No, 100%. Very excited to see kind of the future of the franchise. I think the next one's going to be like a Black Ops 2 sequel, correct?
Apparently, and there's been more leaks. That's one thing I want to comment on. This entire week, leave it to Tom Henderson. He's been leaking like 100 things about next year's game already. The original zombie crew is gonna come back and all this. I'm like, this game just dropped. Can we like, if you're gonna leak something about this year's game? Like, why are we leaking next year's, dude?
The original zombies crew. What fucking Jeff Frudd?
I don't know.
Who plays zombies, man? Oh my god.
Darkwood's excited. That's what I know.
Dark's like, oh, weird. The Easter eggs, man. That's why you play it. No, play Left 4 Dead. Be a man. Anyways, that's it for everything. And the podcast. Long one today, Fusion, but hey, had a lot of fun. Like you said, every time you're on, a lot of good conversations, but leads to me being sweaty because I never fucking turn on the fan before the podcast.
Leads to the longest shows.
Yeah, really. But hey, I had a fun time, Fusion. You got plans for the weekend?
Nothing crazy. I'm gonna hopefully grind Dragon Age. I got a nephew's birthday party and football, so that'll be my weekend.
Ask the nephew what he thinks about Lego Horizon Adventures. I want to hear on the ground reporting. If kids care about it.
He's turning 3, so I don't know if he knows anything about it.
What do you think about Lego Horizon Adventures? Yeah, truck. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed us, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever pods are found, like the podcast. Any type of support helps us, and follow us on Twitter at @ASliceOfGaming. With that, have a good night. Goodbye.
Go support Bioware.